Okay. YouTube is now working. Alright, so I have not begun checking every single platform. Well, this is the first time in, what, over a year I'm going to try streaming on multiple platforms at once. It looks like YouTube is going now. I got that fixed, okay. Let's go back here. Alright, live video on Instagram. Actually going to be able to try Instagram. Let's see. Give a title to that. Public. Next. Go live. Wait. Connect streaming software to go live. It should be connected. Huh. Or do I have to change this now? Damn it. Save that. Now let's check Facebook while try and see if Instagram gets fixed. I don't remember where to go for Facebook. Look, Instagram's going. Okay, I think that's working now. This is weird. Going live on Instagram. Why does it look like that? Wow, that's what the video looks like for Instagram Live? Holy shit. That is... Man, that's bad. I don't think I can do Instagram. That looks terrible. Yeah. Fuck that. Discard the video. Okay, Instagram is out for right now because that looks like absolute trash. It was just like the smallest part of this video. Like, you couldn't see anything on the screen. Okay, well, that's a shame. Alright, well, at least I know now. Where the hell do I go for this? Or do I go into videos on this one? Mr. Taylor. Are things coming through okay on YouTube right now? Hey, Facebook is working. All right, I found that. Well, where do I go to see like if anyone's doing a comment or anything? Click to expand. There we go. Hey, Facebook is working. All right, I found that. Oh shit. Where's the volume on this thing? Doing a comment or anything? Click to expand. All right, good. So that's muted. All right. Get back into the swing of things. Facebook's going. Hello, Max. Okay. Don't see it on the TV, but you see it on the laptop. Why would it not be on the TV, but on the laptop? Because it's the same stream. If you reset it on the TV, does it change anything? That's strange. And disappointing. Good to see you again too, Max. Trying to get all this stuff set up and ready to go here. Log off and try again. Well, hopefully that works. I don't know why it wouldn't go through. So the laptop's working, but it won't show up on the TV app. That's freaking weird. Okay. Twitch is saying I'm live. So, okay, I'll just go to watch now and make this work. I guess that's working now. Okay. So we got Twitch is going, Facebook is going, YouTube is kind of going. Well, Figure it out somehow. Disappointed that the Instagram thing won't work, but if Instagram can't show what's on the screen, then there's no point in doing that. I'm concerned about why YouTube won't be showing up on the TV, though. Like, is this multi-streaming software preventing something to be broadcast on TV? We'll get to the actual content here once very dedicated follower is done troubleshooting his end of stuff. But let's see. Also using the interface again today for the guitar, as well as the video we're going to be checking out. Now it looks frozen, screen is dark. May have to reset the TV. I wonder why you'd have to reset the TV. It could have something to do with this multi-streaming software that I'm using right now. Let me disconnect the Instagram. It says it's connected on YouTube. I mean, I can see it. Deaf World, hello. Well, how am I doing? Well enough, I suppose. Trying to troubleshoot things. Mr. Mark Taylor there always watches these streams on his TV. And for some reason it's not coming through very well. Hello, Flyman. Thank you. Alright, so it's working well over there. So maybe I'm just worried that this multi-streaming software is affecting the TV viewing there. Okay, so my voice is coming in well enough. Yeah, using the interface again. Last week I did not use my audio interface. I just had stuff coming out of, or the video coming out of old computer speakers. Now I'm trying to use the fancier monitors again for the video, as well as the guitar. Still just everything going into the Yeti microphone here. My headphones are not plugged in still, because I'm wondering if it's the headphones that were the cause of trucker radio chatter being picked up 2 weeks ago. Because when I was recording the latest Patreon lesson, which is out now, sound is nice. All right, good. Glad to hear that. Good. But yeah, when I was recording the latest Patreon lesson, I could faintly hear, I think in the left headphone, the that trucker chatter, like the radio signals going back and forth. So, yeah. Still watching me at work. You're getting paid to watch a live stream. Well, hopefully that's going well. Still waiting on Mr. Taylor for some feedback on the TV thing. He's a very important follower. He gets special treatment. He deserves it. Because he's given my ass special treatment so damn long. For 40 years I've received special treatment. And it's almost 41, which is freaking crazy to think about. YouTube on TV is working fine for you. Okay. Good. I'm gonna go bound to head to your truck and relax in the parking lot. Well, there you go. Well, we'll get cracking here once Mr. Taylor is back on and giving me some feedback here. I want to make sure it goes okay for him. All right. So multi-streaming. So I see. I got we got Twitch going, which I have not used in a long ass time. Facebook's going. There were 2 people there. I'm sure they jumped because nothing's really happening there. YouTube's going. 5 viewers on so far. He did say, well, okay. Well, there we go. Go ahead with the stream. Just waiting for the TV to reboot so you can watch it on the laptop. Okay, well, here we go. All right, so if there's any like sound issues, as always, please let me know. Max, you said it sounds nice right now, so good. Hopefully it stays that way. Hopefully there's no freaking truckers being picked up. Of course, if it goes well, no truckers come through this time, I'll try the headphones again next week and try and improve the sound quality a bit more. Although I wonder how that would work on, well, I just need to get a mixer. Anyway, so let's get into it. Now's the time. Whoops, I turned off the wrong text. Where the hell is it? There it is. All right. So, the CAGED system. I don't know a whole lot about it. Last week, we did learn a little bit about it. So, we are going to learn about it together. So, got a video queued up, ready to go from Brian Kelly. I think his website is Zombie Guitar. And last week, I believe, was the first time watching some of his stuff. So this video, we're going to react to Clout Chase with, I have not seen this before. So this is the first time watching it. So honest reactions to everything. And yeah, the goal here, because Max, you said that was you, right? Talked about the CAGED system. No, or was it you? You were the one who said it sounded like a stand-up routine last time. I'm starting to not remember who said what. John, hello. Good to see you. All right, so let's learn about this whole CAGED system together. See how we can get some use out of it. Here we go.
The CAGED system. The CAGED system is so powerful, so versatile. It's almost like magic when people finally discover what the actual purpose of the system is for. The problem is that so many people completely misunderstand it. So many people. They think that the CAGED system is about this one very specific thing, which it is not, which I'm going to explain to you in this video, when in fact the CAGED system is for something else entirely. This is what the CAGED system is for. It is not for this, but so many people think it is. And that's what this video is about. The pro guitar players, all the best guitar players, they live here. This is where the magic is. This is where the beautiful music takes place. Those guitar players where every note that they play just seems to just send chills down your spine. Everything that they play is just so perfect. And you are like, how do they do that? How are they playing that beautiful music so perfectly? They live here. That's where they're at. The CAGED system is not the only way to get there, but the CAGED system's intention is to get you there. So it's one of the ways to get you there. The CAGED system is not a system of scale patterns. All right, that's not what it's about. The CAGED system is...
And I thought that's what it is. I thought the CAGED system was like these condensed scale shapes that I'm aware of and I've given people. I thought that's what the CAGED system is. So I am in the camp of wrong. We're going to get in the camp of right. Sheriff, good to see you. Yeah. So like he was saying there, I absolutely thought the CAGED system was just some way of viewing scale shapes. It was wrong. Well, let's find out. I remember last time he was talking about, in another video, how it's used to find chord tones more easily or quickly. So apparently it's something to do with, I guess, arpeggios, chord tones. Let's continue.
It's not about breaking the fretboard up into 5 positions. It is not C position, A position, G position, E position, D position. That is not the CAGED system. That's the big misconception. All that is you're just breaking up the diatonic scale via the 5 patterns approach. You can break that diatonic scale up into 3 patterns. You can break the diatonic scale up into 5 patterns. You can break that diatonic scale up into 7 patterns. There's other ways to do it too. Those are just 3 of the common ways to do it. The thing is that people, they misunderstand the CAGED system for the 5 patterns approach to visualizing the diatonic scale. And that is not what the CAGED system's about. All you're doing there is you're living here. You're stuck here. I call this layer 1. This is the diatonic scale. This is where you learn to play in key. It's great to be there. It takes years to get there for many people. I know for myself, just to internalize how to get there, it took me several years, I don't know how many years, a couple of years. But that's the minor leagues, man. The major leagues is out here. This is where the pros live. There's this whole other world out there. That's what the CAGED system is for. Hey guys, Brian Kelly here from Zombie Guitar. Today's video, I want to first explain to you what the CAGED system is not and where the big misconception comes from, and then I want to explain to you what it actually is and where all of the magic lies at. So you need to understand what it is not first before you can actually understand what it is.
I thought he already told us what it's not. It's not a way of knowing the fretboard. Didn't he already tell us? Do you think he already told us? I think he already told us. Oh, what the heck do I know? I don't know the CAGED system yet, but we're going to know.
Keep in mind, I made a very detailed lesson about this system. It's called 9 Steps to Fully Understanding the CAGED System. I think if you look it up on YouTube, it's called the most comprehensive CAGED lesson ever, something like that. I'll definitely post a link to that below. That is a very detailed system that shows you exactly what you can do with the CAGED system and all of the potential. So I'm not going to get as deep into the exact steps of the CAGED system here in this lesson, so I may move a bit quick on certain parts. So if you're still kind of confused as to how to use this system and how to apply it, definitely check out that lesson. Link below. All right? So what the CAGED system is not. Let's talk about that first. You want to jam with some musicians. You got a keyboard player, singer, bass player, second guitar player. They're all playing music. The chord progression that they're all jamming along to is A minor to C major to G major to F major. Four chord progression. You just want to jam along with them. So the first thing you want to do is you want to identify the key. You've identified that the key is either A minor, which is the same key signature as C major. All right, same key signature. Maybe you did that by using your circle of fifths. You looked at your circle of fifths and you saw that all 4 of those chords fall.
I did it because I know what chords are in key. Mr. Taylor. Good. Glad it was working on the TV. So was it the TV that was the problem? Have you ever had to reset the TV in order to get something on YouTube to work? What did he say? It was A minor, C, G major, and F? I think that was the chord progression, right? A minor, C, G, And F, that's chord number 6. 1, 5, 4. 6, 1, 5, 4. 6, 1, 5, 4. Or if you look at it from the minor scale perspective, that would be, let's see, the 1, 3. I don't look at it from the minor scale perspective very often. 1, 3, 7, 6. Okay. All right. So you had to change it or reset the TV before. All right. Well, that sucks that you have to do that, but it's also a relief for me knowing that it's not something on my end that was the problem. So, good. All right. Hey, let's continue on.
Right into this grouping of 6 right here: A minor, C major, G major, F major. They all fall right into the grouping of 6. Therefore, everything is 100% in that specific key.
Where was B diminished?
C major / A minor. So you have to determine the key. Cool. The key is A minor / C major. It's kind of up in the air as to what exactly is it. A minor? Is it C major? We don't know.
He knows. Key, well, it's more A minor, because if he's starting with he's starting with the A minor chord and then resolves to the A minor chord, that makes it more of an A minor key, or the key of A minor, or A Aeolian. It's Aeolian. It's Aeolian versus C Ionian. So we start with the minor chord and then we go back to the minor chord. A is the tonal center. It's home base. So that's why it's more the key of A minor, not as much the key of C major. He knows.
There's 4 chords: A minor, C major, G major, F major. They're all part of the same key signature. The only way to really know for sure is, does the song end on a happy C major chord? Does the song end like this? A nice happy C major chord ending. All right, cool. All that music that you were listening to all along was in the key of C major. If the song happens to end on a A minor chord, a sad A minor chord, and that's the ending of the piece of music, and you walk away feeling like, man, I'm a little emotional after hearing that song, then it was the key of A minor. It makes no difference. It's A minor, it's C major. It's one of the 12 possible key signatures. All right, so...
Hey, didn't we learn last week? We did. We learned. Whoops, hang on, I clicked on the wrong thing. We learned last week that a 12 is not correct. There's 30 possible keys. Would that mean there's only... Hang on, I gotta think about that. Because, yeah, Victor Wooten taught us that last week. There's 30 keys. 30! Garcia. Zombie Guitar Channel is a real good instructor for... Man, I really wish this emoji thing didn't get in the way of the damn text. Functional guitar, and then the word music theory. There we go. Sorry. There's a frickin' heart sitting on the bottom right-hand corner of the chat. So some of the words keep getting cut off when I'm trying to read the comments on YouTube. Well, anyway, so sorry. You wrote things just fine. Got a heart blocking the way, and I don't know how to get rid of that. Alright, let's continue on here.
You want to take this little pentatonic scale, this position number 1, and you want to learn how to play in key up and down the entire neck of the guitar. The 5 pentatonic positions is a great starting point. That's the pentatonic scale spanning across the entire neck of the guitar. That's the A minor pentatonic scale notes. That's the C major pentatonic scale notes. It's a relative major minor pair. That's your 5 pentatonic notes. That's only 5 of the 7 total notes of the key, though. Whatever key you're playing in, there's 7 notes. The pentatonic scale is 5 of those notes, but the key actually has 7 notes.
Hey, did you know that in every major or minor key there are 3 pentatonic scales that you can use? I'm going to wait and see if anyone in the comment section knew that. And if you did know that, what 3 minor pentatonic scales fit in the key of A minor? What's the answer? I'm going to wait a moment here and see if anyone knows. Alright, I'm guessing nobody knows because no one's responding yet. Or they know and they just can't type. So the key of A minor, you have A minor, D minor, and E minor pentatonic scales that all fit. Whoops. So, all the notes fit. You may not really want to stay in those shapes the whole time. But yeah. The 1, 3, 5. Well, it's kind of based off that. So, on YouTube, I'm just going to say where the comments are coming from, so if anyone watches the archive stream somewhere else, they know what's going on. The Sheriff asks, like, so the 1, 3, 5. Well, 1, 3, 5 has to do with, again, like the first, third, and fifth intervals of that major scale we discussed last week. So, minor pentatonic, or minor scale, has a flat third involved. But it's actually kind of around that, because there are 3 minor chords in any given key, you know. So you have an A minor chord, you have a D minor chord, and an E minor chord. And that's kind of like your hint as to where the 3 pentatonics can be used. So A minor pentatonic scale, A, C, D, E, and G. D minor pentatonic is D, F, G, A, C. E minor pentatonic is E, G, A, B, D. All of those notes are in the key of A minor or C major. ED 1, 4, 5. From a minor scale perspective, yes. Minor scale perspective, 1, 4, 5. Absolutely. So yeah. What are you going to do with that knowledge? I don't know. But I thought that was kind of cool when I found that, when I just kind of noticed that. Like, holy crap, yeah, they fit. Absolutely. So that also means you have the C major pentatonic, G major, and F major pentatonic that fit as well. So all those notes fit. They work. All right. Back to Brian Kelly.
So the pentatonic scale is missing 2 of the notes. Those 2 notes are B and F. So in order to get B and F into your playing, which is going to open up more melodic possibilities for you, you can add that B and F into each of the 5 pentatonic positions. Alright, so what we've done is we've mapped out the diatonic scale for the key that we're playing in, up and down the entire neck of the guitar. 7 notes is the diatonic scale. If you just use 5 of those 7 notes and you just want to stick to the pentatonic scale, cool. If you want to add in those 2 additional notes, so you have a full 7-note palette of notes to play with, which is going to open up more melodic possibilities for you, cool. That's the diatonic scale versus the pentatonic scale. We're still here though. We're still in the little leagues here. All right, we haven't entered into this realm yet where all the pros hang out at. We're still here. All we've done was we've visualized this diatonic scale across the neck of the guitar via the 5 patterns method, 5 positions, whatever you want to say, patterns, positions, it doesn't matter. That's all we've done. It's the diatonic scale via the 5 patterns method. The reason that this gets confused with the CAGED system is because, okay, so we're in the key of A minor, or the key of C major, whatever you want to call it. Let's just call it the key of C major. So right here in pentatonic position number 1, you're going to find your C major chord found in what is known as the G shape. Here's your C major chord in the G shape. The notes of the C major chord are C, E, and G. So you have a C, E, G. C, E, G. C. C major chord in the G shape. If you come up to pentatonic position number 2, you're going to find the C major chord in the E shape. If you come up to pentatonic position number 3, you're going to find the C major chord in the D shape. Position 4, it's going to be in the C shape. Position 5 is going to be in the A shape. Then you're back at position 1. C major chord is again found in the G shape. So people will say that this is the G position. They will say that this is the E position. This is the D position. They're assigning CAGED names to each of these 5 positions, right? You can call this position 1. You can call this position 2, 3, 4, 5. You can call this, the red position, call this the green position, call this the blue position. I don't care what you call it, but if you've been calling it by CAGED names and then you think that that's it, that's the CAGED system, done.
Just want to reply to a comment real quick. Garcia, thank you very much. Appreciate you getting both those programs and being a Patreon supporter. It's fantastic. And hey, if you're not on Patreon yet, you're interested in it, there is a 1-week free trial. Over 100. Look at that, I'm making a salesy face. It's hard not to exaggerate part of my personality when I'm doing these live streams. I'm trying to be entertaining, damn it. No, there is a 1-week free trial. You can check out over 100 different lessons. One that I just put out last night that's like an hour and 18 minutes long that breaks down how to go up and down scales. It's a simple idea, but actually playing up and down a scale really fast is stupid hard. Stupid hard. Holy crap, is it difficult. So yeah. So thank you, Garcia. Appreciate that. Garcia. How do I pronounce your first name? Doroteo? Would that be it, Doroteo? Is that correct? I don't know. I'm learning Spanish. Very slowly. My wife is Guatemalan. She speaks far better Spanish than me. Anyway, let's get back into it.
Then that's the problem. Okay, that's only the beginning. You're in the little league still. It takes years and years of practice to be able to play this diatonic scale across this entire fretboard. But that's still the little leagues, all right? The CAGED system will get you into the big leagues. Let's now talk about that. All right, example number 1. We're just going to play this chord progression as a rhythm guitar player, but we don't want to play it here anymore. As I said, the chord progression is A minor to C major to G major to F major. All right, so that's cool, but you don't want to play here. You want to play that same chord progression, A minor, C major, G major, F major, and you want to play it somewhere else. You can play that chord progression anywhere on the entire neck of the guitar and you can find the nearest available shapes using the CAGED system. As I said, the CAGED system isn't the only way to do this, but this is what the CAGED system is for. All right. So let's say that I kind of just want to play the same chord progression, and I just want to play it like around like this area of the neck. All right. So we're not in the open position. I want to play it here. So right here, where's the nearest available A minor chord? You've probably seen this A minor chord shape before. So this is the E shape, but that's an A major chord, and we're trying to play an A minor chord. So you have to identify where the third is within this shape. Whatever shape you use, it's always going to consist of a root third and a fifth. So you just have to know where the third is and then drop that third by 1/2 step, resulting in an A minor chord. So boom, there's your A minor chord right there. A minor chord in the E shape. Now you can just reduce that and just play the high 4 strings if you want. That's completely fine. So you can just play the A minor chord like this. It's still the A minor chord in the E shape. We started out with an A major chord because that's what the CAGED system is. It's 5 major chord shapes. We've identified the third and we lowered the third by 1/2 step, resulting in a minor chord. We then just stuck to playing the high 4 strings. That's the chord that we're going to play for A minor. For the C major chord, we can use the C major chord and say the E shape. Alright, so again, just like we did with the A minor chord, we use the E shape. We're going to do the same thing with the C major chord, E shape. But again, we're just going to play the high 4 strings. For the G major chord, we're going to play the G major chord in the D shape. So here's the G major chord in the D shape. The G major chord consists of the notes G, B, and D. So we're just going to play the high 3 strings here. You still have your G, B, and D. Here's G, here's B, here's D. That came from the D shape. So G major chord in the D shape. Why is that called a D shape? Well, do you recognize that shape? Looks like the D major chord that you play down here, right? And so that's the D shape. And then for the F major chord, let's play the F major chord and say the A shape. So F major chord in the A shape is like this. So we're just going to play the high 3 strings like that. Alright, so that's example 1. We took our very basic chord progression that the whole rest of the band is playing, the bass player, the piano player, the guitar player, the singer singing in that key. Everyone's playing those 4 chords instead of just playing your basic open chords down here that you've been playing since your first week that you started guitar. Now you decided to spice it up a little bit, and now you're playing the same chord progression, but you're playing it a little further up the neck. We use the CAGED system to find those shapes. Alright, so that was one thing that the CAGED system is for. Let's look at some other examples. Alright, so example number 2, let's say that we want to take these simple 4 chords, A minor.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. He said it. He said it. He said modify into any chord. Uh-oh. You guys know how I feel about that, right? Any chord? I mean, technically, yeah, you can. Hard to do on some stuff. Let's see where he goes with it.
C major, G major, F major, and we want to make them a little bit, add some color to the chords, add a little bit of extra flavor to them. All right, we don't have to keep these as basic major and minor chords. We're going to use these same shapes that we just used, but let's say we want to play an A minor 9 chord, and then we'll keep the C major chord as it is, and we'll play a G dominant 7 chord, and then we'll play an F major 7 chord.
Okay, let's see. What did he say there? Let's add a text box up here. We can, what's this one? Oh God, I haven't used that in a long time. I'm going to make a new text box. I'm going to label this notes. We're going to have some notes on screen. That's kind of what I predict what he's going to do here. Alright, so notes. Call that. So he said A minor 9, and then I think he said just a regular old C, and he said G dominant 7, and then F major 7, right? That sound about right? I think that's what he said. Okay, so we got that. Let's, a bit of background here. So was nice and clear. Okay. So those are the chords he talked about, right? Let's double check. So I got that right.
Say that we want to take these simple 4 chords, A minor, C major, G major, F major, and we want to make them a little bit, add some color to the chords, add a little bit of extra flavor to them. All right, we don't have to keep these as basic major or minor chords. We're going to use these same shapes that we just used, but let's say we want to play an A minor 9 chord, okay, and then we'll keep the C major chord as it is. Then we'll play a G dominant 7 chord, and then we'll play an F major 7 chord. All right.
Okay, I think he actually demonstrated this at the beginning, like the intro for the video. So let's see. He's playing the A minor chord over here. I'm wondering if he's going to do a minor 9 like this. I hope not, because that's an A minor add 9. Did you know that? An A minor 9 would, because if he uses this shape here, that makes sense, and then you can release your pinky here, which takes your A down to a G note. So when you add a G to an A minor chord, you're creating an A minor 7. And then you need to add the B in, which I'm probably going to do up here. B is the 9th interval, same note as the 2nd. But typically when you have the 7th or flat 7th interval present, if you add in the 2, it's automatically a 9. So you got 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7, 9. That's an A minor 9 arpeggio. There's an A minor 9 chord. And so he was doing the C chord over here. Just did those notes. So he talked about just playing the top 4 strings. So we could have something like this. And then G7, he was using a G major chord like this, top 3 strings he said. So we might just do it like that. Which would actually not have the root note at all. That would be a G dominant 7 with the root note still. So maybe he's going to do something like this. And then F major 7, he was using this chord shape here. I don't think he would do it like that. F, well, obviously you can't do it that way, that's stupid. Maybe he'll just do it like this. Anyway, A minor 9. C. Oh, that was horrible. A minor 9. C. G down 7. That's right, he was doing it like this. I'm assuming he's going to do it like that. F major 7. A minor 9. God damn it. I cannot hold a frickin' C major chord today. A minor 9, C major, G7, F major 7. Alright, anyway, enough embarrassing myself and not being able to play a standard bar chord. Lord. Let's let's get back to what he's gonna do. Let's see how he ends up playing them.
Alright. So, in order to know how to do that stuff,
wait.
Just general.
Question. Got a good question here. Question is, what is the difference between a dominant 7 and a major 7? 1 note difference. So let's put some notes up on the screen. All right, so the difference. So let's take. Oh my God. Delete all that. And we move this so I can actually see better. So let's take a C major or a C major 7 for example. So major 7th chord involves the 1st, 3rd, 5th, and 7th note or intervals in a major scale. So 7 notes that make a C major scale are C, D, E, F, G, A, B. So we want the first note, which is a C. Second note, or not second, well, third note in the scale is an E. that. And then the fifth note in the scale is a G. We want that. And then the seventh note in scale is a B. So that is a C major 7. In order to turn it into a C dominant 7, we keep the C, E, and G, which is a major chord, major triad. Yeah, again, major triad there, or just major chord. And then when you add in that seventh note, you got yourself the C major 7. That does not feel nice. So instead of adding in a major 7th interval, or just 7, you add in a flat 7. So we take the B, make it a B flat. That gives us C dominant 7, or more commonly written as just C7. C7. And that's the difference. So we can take the C major chord here. Let's change this. I don't know. Where do I want to put this damn thing? There we go. So yeah, you can take the C major chord here. We'll just do your C, G, C again. And there is your E. So the C's done twice. So a quick way to find the 7th interval of any chord shape, you got to have enough notes being used though. Look for an octave of the root note within the chord shape. In this case, the 10th fret on the D string is the octave of C. To quickly find the 7th interval of any note, go back a half step. Back a half step. So we're going to go from 10 down to 9. There's our 7. So now we have our C major 7. For the dominant 7, we need the flat 7, also known as a minor 7th interval. So you go down a whole step from the root note to get down there. I said 7th interval for any note. Well, from any root note, we go down a half step. So octave of the root note, we go down a whole step. There's your dominant 7. So major 7, dominant 7. In other words, take a major 7th chord, flat that 7th interval, you got yourself a dominant 7. What video or course do I recommend to learn the CAGED system? I can't recommend anything for learning the CAGED system because I'm learning it myself right now. So perhaps the one we're watching together. Because yeah, last week it was brought up. What do I know about the CAGED system? I said nothing or very little. And apparently what I knew about the CAGED system is what Brian Kelly is saying people get wrong all the time. So what I knew was wrong in the first place. So we're learning this all together at the same time. Well, you were very welcome, Sheriff. Glad it helped. Alright, so there's that. Let's turn that back off. And resume this.
General music theory. So in order to know what an A minor 9 chord is, or a G dominant 7 chord, or an F major 7 chord, the CAGED system is not going to give you those answers. General music theory, an understanding of general music theory, is where that stuff is to be found at. And I have tons of lessons on all that stuff as well. But what the CAGED system does is it gives you a starting point for which you can, you take your basic starting shape, and then you make manipulations to it in order to turn it into whatever chord you're trying to play.
Okay. It's been almost an hour. What do I need to do like every hour? Because I drink a ton of liquid. I need to use the bathroom. I can't hold it anymore. I'm sorry. Talk amongst yourselves, please. Leave questions. I will be right back and we'll continue. Alright, should be good for another hour. Fantastic. The portion of the desk that was holding up the keyboard just fell down. It just fell out of the desk. Hey, the stream's working still. That's good. Well, let's, shit. Alright, let's get that put back up. God damn it. Hopefully nothing comes unplugged that needs to stay plugged in. Lord. And there was a picture of Max underneath my frickin' mouse pad this whole time. How long has that been there? Dear sister, thank you so much. Alright. Damn. What an exciting entrance. Try my best not to knock over the microphone or unplug the microphone, and I end up knocking part of the desk out of place. Neat. Okay, get that over there. How could you hear the toilet flush? I had the mic muted. I don't get that. Weird. Or was it still flushing when I put the mic back on? Did I not mute the mic? I thought I muted the mic. Maybe I had to go so bad I screwed that up. Oh, Lord. Well, Mr. Deford, what do you do for work? Sorry you didn't get any comments. Fucking goddamn it. Alright. We're back. The desk has been reassembled. Microphone's working still. I didn't unplug it. The stream didn't stop. Alright, fantastic. Heard the mic. Okay, it was still flushing. Got it. Well, oh, keyboard. I'll need that. Let's put that back up. Oh my Lord. Okay. There. I think we're good to go again. Alright. Back at it.
We already made a slight manipulation when we started out determining this A minor chord. In order to get an A minor chord, we had to start with an A major chord, which we did, and then we lowered the third by 1/2 step, resulting in an A minor chord.
Yes.
So we started out with a CAGED shape, and then we made a slight manipulation, and that's how we got a minor chord. You can make other manipulations. You can take these starting CAGED shapes, one of the 5 starting CAGED shapes, and you can make manipulations to it, resulting in these other chords. Let's do that now. So we're going to start off with this A minor chord that we already have been using right here. So in order to take this A chord and turn it into an A minor 9 chord, you need to have a basic understanding of general music theory. You need to know that a minor 9 chord consists of a root, a flat third, a fifth, a flat 7th, and a 9.
Yes.
Again, the CAGED system is not going to give you that information. A general understanding of music theory will.
I'm very glad he said that. He got it right. Merchandiser and going to be an electrician's apprentice. Very nice. We'll be an electrician. That'll keep you busy. Maybe you can find out what causes trucker radio signals to be picked up and sent out through interfaces. That would be awesome.
But what you can do is you take your basic starting shape. So we start with a major chord shape. You start with either C, A, G, E, or D shape. We're trying to play some sort of an A type of chord. So we're going to play an A chord in the E shape. This is called the E shape. This is called the E shape because it's the same shape as an E major chord, but you slide it up to here. It's the E shape. It's an A major chord in the E shape. So you identify your intervals. You have your 1, your 5, your 1, your 3, your 5, and your 1. So first things first, we want to make this into a minor chord. So we take our third, we lower that by 1/2 step. Boom, now we have an A minor chord. Alright, so we have to get a flat 7 in there because that's what a minor 9's chord formula dictates that it is. So where can we get a flat 7? Well, as long as you know where your 1 is, you always have a flat 7 1 whole step lower than that.
Hey,
so
we said the same thing.
Underneath our pinky here on the 7th fret of the D string. So you lift up your pinky, boom, that's where your flat 7 is. So now you're playing an A minor 7 chord. So we want to get that 9 in there. So what's a 9? A 9 is always going to be 1 whole step higher than the 1. So here's a 1, here's a 1, here's a 1. So let's add the 9 in up here.
Look at that. Did the same
A minor
thing.
7, add in that 9 up there. Alright, A minor 9 chord. And we said we're just going to stick with the C major chord. So that's a C major chord in the E shape.
So he is just doing that.
Why is it in the E shape? Again, this is your E shape down here. It's an E major chord. So we're just taking that shape and we're sliding it up such that our root note is where the C is. So C major chord in the E shape. And then we want to get a G dominant 7 chord. So we've already started off. This is the G chord that we used in example number 1. We have our 1, we have our 3, we have our 5. So how do you turn that into a dominant 7 chord? Well, dominant 7 chord has a flat 7 interval. So anywhere you have your 1 whole step lower than that is going to be where your flat 7 is found. So you just make a little manipulation to this shape. Boom. This is actually a rootless dominant 7 chord.
All right,
but that's fine because the rules of chord construction dictate that you can always drop the root anytime you're playing any type of extended chord or whatever.
I have never heard that before. Say that again.
Construction dictate that you get rootless dominant spoon. This is actually a rootless dominant 7 chord. But that's fine because the rules of chord construction dictate that you can always drop the root anytime you're playing any type of extended chord or whatever. You can always drop the root. The important intervals are always going to be the 3rd and the 7th. General music theory, we're just using the CAGED system just for...
I'm curious about that one. You said the most important intervals are the root and the 7th. I mean, the 3rd and the 7th. I guess that's for the extended chords, though. Well, let's discuss that one. Let's see. You're welcome for listening to the new metal track there. I didn't really get many new metal vibes from it. That's not a bad thing. Seemed more thrash and death metal to me. It's extremely heavy new metal, but then maybe it's more like a Slipknot influence thing. New metal is kind of a weird genre, though, because so many bands are in that category. Seems more like an era. You know, people just say 80s metal. It's just anything from the 80s is 80s metal, where new metal is basically like mid to late 90s, early 2000s. Fuzzy Bunny. Been a while. Good to see you. And you were very welcome. I'm glad we can do this. Alright, so Brian Kelly said, now, I took lessons from a private instructor at Skip's Music. His name's Eric Morrison. Now, he still does some lessons over there, but he also has his own business, Sac Valley Guitar. So anyone in the Sacramento area watching this, if you want in-person lessons, not online lessons, he does online as well, but you want in-person lessons, well, that's my recommendation there, because that's where I learned stuff from. But the way I learned stuff was, you know, he taught me a bunch of music theory stuff, and the way I learned it was the most important intervals are the root note is included, the 3rd interval for sure, and then like anything else at that point. The most unimportant interval is the 5. That's how I was taught, and that's how I teach it. Why the 5? To me, the fifth interval is a root note enhancer. It just beefs up the root note, which makes sense because when you're playing a lot of metal stuff, rock stuff, what's being played? Most is the root and the fifth, which you can play all over the place and still have it like either sound in key, even though. But basically, let me explain this. Let's say you're playing this chord progression here. A5, B5, C5, D5, and G. So I would say that that's in the key of A minor, because, you know, A, B, C, D, and G, those fifth chords there, or using those root notes, A, B, C, D, and G. But the B5 is technically not in key, because a B5 has an F sharp in it. F sharp is not in the key of A minor. You could argue that this is an A Dorian chord progression, because all those fifth chords work in there. But anyway, what if it was something more like hitting that F sharp, or not F sharp, hitting that F note a bunch for the F5 chord to show that we can just play those power chords, still have the B5, and it still sounds like it's in the key of A minor. At least to me, it does. So how the heck do we get away with that and have it technically not be in key, but still sounds in key? Because the fifth interval doesn't really matter. It's all about beefing up that root note. So if I was to keep it all in key, we would have a B, I like to call it a diminished fifth. Anytime you see it in music, it's always like B5 and then in parentheses flat 5. I hate that name. Because to me, when I read that, it looks like it's saying it's a B5 that also has a flat 5. So it has the root of 5 plus a flat 5. That's what it looks like it says to me. I hate that name. But it's this. You don't really hear that very often. Now, like the same kind of progression. What the hell did I do? Now I'm going to use the flat 5 in there when I hit the B. That was terrible. Maybe I should do something a little bit slower, like. So if I use that diminished fifth, I should do that again. You hear how it just sounds like really jarring and just kind of out there? Yeah, it's not used very often. That's why people tend to use just a regular old power chord, not a diminished fifth chord. But yeah, anyway, I got comments. Let's get back to these comments. When are I releasing the Metal Modes course? I don't know. I'm still not done making it. I hope it should be done before this year is over. So I got a few more videos I got to make with it. But yeah, I can't give an answer to that one. Hopefully, next few months. I don't know. Should be by the end of the year for sure. Let's see. Dug deep into the underground side of nu metal, which I never did. Let me tell you, there are a lot of bands with that style I showed you, huh? in these turntables. Okay. I just created a song. Thank you. All right. Okay. Yeah, let's continue on here. I thought I saw something about diminished chord. No. Oh, yes. Where was B diminished? Love it. Oh, you're back watching the early part of this. Cool. B diminished. Right. Anyway, so yeah, the whole point of that is what I was taught is the fifth interval is the most expendable one, not the root note. So this is the first time I've heard anyone say that the root note is expendable when dealing with extended chords. And I thought extended chords were when you go past the seventh interval. Like a ninth chord, 11th, or 13th is considered an extended chord. I did not know that a seventh chord is part of that family. Anyway, so yeah, like, because when I see this, you know, just those three notes. So I'm not thinking of this. Well, I basically never think of anything as like a rootless whatever. I mean, I get it, rootless G7. What the heck would I call that? What notes do we have here? Well, that's a D note. That's your F. And then you have a B note. So I'm looking at that as B, or D. D is the root note. So D is the 1. F is your flat third. B is the 6. That's 1, flat 3, and 6. So I would call this a D minor 6, no 5. But it's relative to the G7 anyway, because a G7 has the exact same notes as a D minor 6. Did you know that? I hope I'm remembering that right. There's a G7, and then a D minor 6 would be this. Whoops. I'm saying this wrong, aren't I? I just said that wrong. No, I am saying that wrong. No, a D minor 6 is the same notes as a B minor 7 flat 5. Right? Hang on. We're going to figure this out. I can't remember how this thing works. I said that wrong. I was incorrect. Shame on me. Shame on me. What am I thinking of here? Let's figure this out. See, I make mistakes too. I absolutely make mistakes. Okay, so the notes of a G7 are G, B, D, and F. G, B, D, F. G, B, D, F. A D minor 6 is D, F, A. There's where I screwed up. So D, F, A, and the B notes. So, right. The B minor 7 flat 5, also known as a half diminished 7, equals B, D, F, A. So you see that D minor 6 and B minor 7 flat 5, those are the exact same notes. Just depending on how you structure things will determine how you spell out the chord. So what the hell am I thinking of here? G7 is also the relative of what? So gotta just stick that on the end. So the second note in the 7th chord is that. G, B, D, F. B minor 7 flat 5. B, D, F, A. Right. Oh, so if we go B, D, B, D, blanking on this. I'm missing something so obvious to me right now, and I can't figure out what the hell it is. What am I messing up here? I'm going to the comments. I built Children of Bodom did a Britney Spears cover. Today you learned that. I believe it. Have a chord book that helps you. Only thing though, I want to write more melodic folky intros for my thrashy stuff. Well, learning your chord theory can certainly help with that. Alright. What am I getting wrong here? G7, GBDF. Right. What is the frickin' sixth chord in there? Alright, we're going in a deep dive. You ready? We're going in a big old deep dive here. Because this is going to drive me nuts. I'm going to change this a little bit. Alright, people. Theory time. We're going to go in order. C major 7 equals C, E, G, B. D minor 7 equals D, F, A, C. E minor 7 equals E, G, B, D. Move this up. F major 7 is face. F major 7 is your face. G7, also known as G dominant 7. G, B, D, F. Alright. Thought I just noticed something. C, E, G, B, D, F, A, C, E, G, B, D, F, A, C, E, G, B, D, F. Yeah, I thought I noticed a thing, and I am clearly wrong. No? That goes over to that. That goes to that. That goes to that. Right. Okay, I see what I'm thinking now. Alright, I'm going to explain something I'm just kind of noticing. A minor 7 equals A, C, E, G. And your B minor 7 flat 5, also known as your half diminished 7, is B, D, F, A. So, you notice, here's something that's kind of neat. I don't know, can I highlight something here? Will it show? No, it doesn't. I can't point at this. I wish I could, so you can see what I'm pointing at. Look at the C major 7 starts with the C, right? D minor 7 ends with a C. D minor 7 begins with a D. Well, the next chord, E minor 7, ends with a D. E minor 7 begins with an E. Well, the next chord, F major 7, ends with an E. Isn't that neat? I think that's neat. Look at that. Okay, so next, we're going to look at, I'm going to copy this. How do I copy this? Copy. And paste duplicates. All right, notes number 2. All right, let's close this for now. We're going to do the 7th chord, or the 6th chords over here. Okay? 6th chords. Well, let's make this a little bit easier to read. I'm doing the wrong one. Notes number 2, properties. Here we go. Alright, Alright, sixth chords. Man, it bugs me I can't remember this stuff right at the top of my head sometimes. I don't remember what the trick is. Alright, so what is a C major 6 or C6? Starts the same, C, E, and G, but it's not B anymore, it's A. That's it. A minor 7 is a C6. No. Yes. Is A, C, E, G, right. So what the frick am I trying to remember here? Go back to... 1, 2, 3, that'll be 1, 2, 3. That doesn't make any sense. Alright. No, I'm not seeing the thing I'm trying to think of. Alright, D minor 6 is D, F, A, B. E minor flat 6 is E, G, B, A. No. A. E, G, B, C. Not freaking A, you dum-dum. Christ. A. F6 is F, A, C, D. G6 is G, B, D, E. A minor flat 6. A, C, E, F. And here's another mouthful. B minor flat 6 flat 5 is B, D, F, G. Now what the hell am I trying to find here? G7, when he G, B, D, F. G, B, G, B, D, F. Right. B minor flat 6, flat 5. That's it. B minor flat 6, flat 5, and G7 are the same chord. So what the hell is this? D minor 6 is the same as what 7th chord? Man, I feel like a fucking dummy right now. I am so blanking on this. The C6 is the same as the A minor 7, flat 5, right? No, A minor 7. A minor 7 is that. Somebody else noticing this damn thing? Thought maybe it was on SoundCloud or something. Oh, gotcha. That was the Deaf World. You know, I even did a video describing this shit once. You know, I thought I had the damn thing and I'm screwing this up. So A, Ace, F. F major 7 is the same as the A minor flat 6. So if I go over it in 1, 2, 3, that should give me that chord, right? Okay. So if I go 1, 2, 3 the other way, 1, 2, 3, A minor, wait, no. Then over here, that's not right. Why am I not seeing the pattern? Did I spell something wrong? C, good lord, this is a fucking great stream, isn't it? C, E, G, A, D, E, dum, dum, right? Dum, 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 right? all there. And then all this stuff, C, E, G, B, right, D, F, A, C, E, G, B, D, your face, G, B, D, F, and then A, C, E, G, B, D, F, A. B, D, F, A. D minor 6 is a B minor 7 flat 5. That's what it is. So G7 is what 6th chord? That's what I'm trying to frickin' see here. D minor 6 starts with the last note. The last note is the equivalent of the 7th chord. Because if you go B, D, F, A, that gives you the 7th. So the last note is the root note of the 7th chord. So B minor flat 6 flat 5, B, D, F, G is G, right, G, B, D, F. There! That's the fucking trick. God damn, that was painful. I wonder how many people I lost on that one. Okay, there's the trick. Let's see if I can remember this damn thing. Good Lord. The last note of a 6th chord is the root note of the relative 7th. Right? Yes. So a C6 and an A minor 7 contain the same 4 notes. D minor 6 contains the same 4 notes of the B minor 7 flat 5. Alright. Anyway. See how easy it is just to call it a rootless G7? Alright, now that I'm done with my theory tangent, let's get back to the video here, shall we? God damn. Where is that frickin' screen? Boom, boom. Alright.
For our starting shape, for which we make manipulations to. And then for the F major 7 chord, we use this shape. This is the F in the A shape, it's called. Why is it called the A shape? Well, because your A major chord down here is like that, so we're just taking that same shape.
How the hell did he do that?
And we're making it so that it's now an F chord. This is all explained in that 45-minute long CAGED lesson that I linked you to. That's why I'm going a little fast, as I said.
Ow.
But anyway, the F major chord is found right here in the A shape. So, how do you get a major 7 chord? Understanding music theory is a 1, a 3, a 5, and a 7. A 7 is always going to be 1/2 step lower than the 1.
Yep.
So anywhere we have a 1, we just have to figure out how to get a note that's 1/2 step lower. So we have a 1 here, we have a 1 here. So it seems like a good place to add in our 7. So 1, 5, there's that 7, there's the 3, there's the 5. It's an F major 7 chord. Right, so any chord. Diminished chords, augmented chords, 9th chords, 11th chords, 13th chords, sus2, sus4, it doesn't matter. Any single chord, it all starts, you pick one of these 5 shapes, C shape, A shape, G shape, E shape, or D shape. Pick one of the 5 shapes, identify where your root, 3rd, and 5th are within the shape that you're using, and then having your understanding of music theory, which is a requirement to kind of take this stuff to the next level, you find your starting CAGED shape, which is what we're doing here. You apply the rules of music theory to make those manipulations. All right, so the CAGED system isn't going to give you all the rules of music theory. That's something you're going to kind of have to know. The CAGED system will give you the starting shape. So example number 1 and 2 was about, chords, which is entirely what the CAGED system is about. The CAGED system is about chords. It's not about scales. It never was about scales, ever. It's always been about chords, but so many people think it's about scales. It's about chords. Doesn't mean that you have to just use it for rhythm now. The first two examples, we just took a chord progression as the rhythm guitar player, and we said, hey, I kind of want to spice my playing up a little bit, so I'm going to use CAGED shapes to kind of help me do that. The CAGED shapes are your starting points to play these other chords anywhere on the entire neck of the guitar, but it's also very, 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 very useful when it comes to soloing. It's called chord tone targeting. If you've been watching my videos for years, you're probably so sick of me of hearing that word, the chord tone targeting. It's so important. That's where the magic lies. Why does the Hotel California solo sound so good? Why does every single note that is played in that Hotel California solo sound so perfect? He's chord tone targeting the entire time. All right? Chord tone targeting is what takes your solos from the little leagues and it puts you into the major leagues. Chord tone targeting. The CAGED system is a great way to identify where the chord tones are, wherever you happen to be on the entire neck of the guitar. You're just visualizing something different. You're not, the scale's there. You know, learning how to play in key, that's the layer one that's there. But as you're playing in your scales and stuff like that, you're playing your scale patterns, there's 7 notes. Some of those 7 notes are going to sound better than other notes. You know, some notes are going to sound great. Some notes are going to sound okay. Some notes are not going to sound that good. Some notes are just going to be like the perfect notes. You have 7 notes to choose from. So when you're soloing, you don't always want to be playing all 7 notes at all times. And that's the whole thing. That's why this is the little leagues. You're in the little leagues, you're just kind of guessing, you know. Okay, you're using your ear. I get it. Everyone uses their ear. You're noodling around in your scale patterns. You're using your ear to guide you to the correct notes and stuff. Does that work 100% of the time? Are you always 100% able to, with control, hit the perfect note that you are aiming for? If the answer is no, then maybe chord tone targeting may be the thing that'll get you to the next level.
Kind of curious about this, where he's going to go with it. Because that's one thing I tell my students is use your ear. Let your ear tell you if it's correct or not. Let your ear tell you if that sounded good. So when practicing improvisation, my thing is just stay in the scale shapes. If it sounds good to you, success. If it didn't sound good, just keep trying. Obviously, there's a lot of visualization that is used when learning this stuff. But how much of it are we going to rely on visualizing stuff versus hearing it? With like metronome practice, I always tell my students, don't use a metronome that's flashing. Do not rely on watching the flash of the metronome, because if you let that become a crutch, and then you go to record something and there is no flashing light, what are you going to do? If you plan on being on stage, are you going to have somebody flashing are you going to have like a strobe light set up, so matching what the drummer is doing the entire time so you know when to be playing? It's like, no. You got to train your ear to follow the beat. But, learning scale shapes. It's like, okay, well, is that different enough? Because you do want to learn your scale shapes to make things easier for you. But anyway, see what he has to say here about using the chord tone targeting stuff he was talking about. My concern is like how much of looking at arpeggios across the fretboard are you going to be doing? What's the difference between looking at arpeggio shapes versus scale shapes? I even tell students you can use scale chord shapes and arpeggio shapes to help you build licks and whatnot and riffs. All right, let's continue.
So let's say that you're noodling around and you're soloing in this key, and it's time for you to take a solo. The rhythm section's still doing their thing. A minor, C major, G major, F major. That's looping over and over and over. You decide that you want to solo here. This is a cool spot that you want to solo. You just like the spot of the guitar. So you can sit here and noodle around in pentatonic position number 4. You can add in your 2 diatonic notes, and you can sit here and do this all day. You can do that all day long. You can noodle around in that scale all day long. It's going to work. You're playing in key. The rhythm section that you're soloing along with, it's going to work. You're playing in key. But some notes are going to sound better than others. All right, that's the chord tones. For the A minor chord, where are the chord tones located? In this little spot that we're playing. The chord tones are all over for the A minor chord. A, C, and E. Those are the chord tones of an A minor chord. Those are going to be the notes that sound perfect over the A minor chord in the rhythm section. You have your scale pattern. You have your little spot you're playing in. Some notes are going to sound better than others. The A, the C, and the E are going to be those notes over the A minor chord. How do you find those notes here? Well, we start out by identifying, if we're using the CAGED system, we start out by identifying which shape is available to us. So we have an A in the A shape available to us. So as you're soloing over the A minor chord, that's going to be a good note. 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 All right, so all those are going to be your golden notes within the scale pattern. The magical notes within the scale pattern. You can use any of them. You don't always have to land on chord tones. Over the A minor chord, your ear may guide you to another note that is not an A, C, or an E. But more often than not, your ear is going to guide you to the chord tones. The chord tones are the notes that just connect with the underlying chord. All right? If you want to sustain on notes, chord tones. If you want to, as the chord change occurs, moves from chord 1 to chord 2, you want to time your phrases such that you're landing on a chord tone right at the moment that the chord changes. That's what chord tone targeting is all about. The thing about this is it gets a bit complicated because the chords are changing. What that means is as the chords are changing, so are the chord tones. The scale's not changing. The scale's remaining constant. Your scale pattern, your key scale, your 7-note diatonic scale, that is remaining constant. That's the thing that everyone's fixated on. Not everyone, but a lot of people are fixated on. Everyone's just focused on playing in key, playing the scale. The magic is in the chords. Over the A minor chord, we have our notes of focus, the A, C, and E. Those are going to be the best sounding notes in that specific instance. But then when the chord changes to a C major chord. That's the next chord in the progression. Your scale pattern still remains the same. So the scale pattern still remains the same, but your notes of focus within the scale pattern, because we're only playing right here for this little example here, are going to change. Over the C major chord, the notes that are going to sound the best are going to be the chord tones of the C major chord, C, E, and G. So how do you find your C's, E's, and G's? Well, you use the CAGED system to do that. Here's a C major chord found in the C shape right here. Here's a C, here's a E, G, C, E. Alright, so those are the chord tones. That's the C major chord in the C shape. That doesn't mean that you have to play this full chord like this and strum it like that. It's not an easy chord to play. What it does mean is that as the C major chord's playing in the rhythm section, and you're noodling in the scale pattern, that's going to be a good note to land on. This is also going to be a good note to land on. This is going to be a good note to land on. C, E, and G. This is a good note to land on. This is a good note to land on. Chord tones. When the chord switches to a G major chord, again, the chord tones change. The scale remains constant. The scale pattern that you're using remains constant. The chord tones of the G major chord are the notes G, B, and D. So right there within this pattern, you have a G, B, D, G, B, D, G. That's actually the G major chord in what is known as the G shape. So again, scale pattern stays constant. Whatever the G major chord. chord tones of the G major chord. And then finally we have the F major chord. Again, the scale pattern remains exactly the same. That stays consistent the entire time because that is the key scale. That is layer 1. But the notes of focus within the scale are now going to be the notes F, A, and C. So those are going to be your notes of focus within the scale pattern right here over the F major chord. The CAGED system is about chords. The CAGED system is not about scales. The CAGED system is not about scale positions. This CAGED system is not the 5 patterns method or the 5 patterns approach to visualizing the diatonic scale. The magic is in the chords. That is what the CAGED system is for. Check out my super in-depth CAGED lesson that I said that I linked you to below. That's super in-depth. Check it out. I have lots of other lessons on this topic. Check them out. CAGED is about chords. It is not about scale patterns.
And that's the end. So what is the conclusion here? Hold on. Video capture. What do I have 2? Get rid of this thing. There we go. Okay. Here, let me just do this. There we go. All right. Sheriff. I've watched this video a few times, but it's very useful. I think I need a bit more basic theory put all together. So, my understanding, anyone watching this who really knows the CAGED system well, if I'm wrong, hey, let me know. Tell me. It seems like it's really just a way of visualizing different chord shapes within the scale. And then basically hitting one note of the chord shape in order to hit those chord tones. So I don't like sitting there thinking about every single chord change that's going to happen, because to me kind of takes away from just the freedom of letting it go and just having fun with it, just going for it. Because what if the chords keep changing really quick? Are you going to try and hit those chord tones when it happens really fast? It does make sense what he said. You know, if you are just relying on your ear and you're not purposely trying to hit chord tones, there's a really good chance you're going to end up just hitting one of those chord tones anyway. And that's why I tell students, just like, you know, you're basically listening for something that sounds like a good place to be. You're looking for a note that sounds pleasant, pleasing to the ear, and then you go away from it, try and cause a little bit of tension, and then find another note that sounds pleasant to hang out on. So basically you're always trying to, you know, cause tension to release it, cause tension to release it. That's what makes stuff interesting, right? Tension and release, the whole call and response thing. So it's just a way of visualizing the different chords within scale shapes. So let's explore that, because you have what... I should probably use the clean channel for this right now. So that scale shape is based on... Well, no, that would be... Is that the A minor? No. Because that's the A shape here. Get your C. Which one was supposed to be the C one? This one, right? It's basically this. Oh hell, I'd have to look at the damn thing again. Because you get your minor. And then you get the notes for the C chord right in here. No, B, C. Okay, so that's using this, like that G shape. Alright, so the D minor one would be like right in here. But that's not D minor, you dum-dum. So, you got your C major chord. You can also do it like this. That's a pain in the butt. D minor chord in here. E minor chord. How would I want to play it over in here? You have your E. Gee, how do we get to the B well? I mean, the notes are... That's not a... No. E, G, and B. I'm not sure how that one would work. Well, I guess... Right, because that's the shape I'm in right now. Okay, so that would work then. Okay, so you can play an E minor like that. That's fine. And then your F chord also in here like this. The G chord within all this stuff would be here. And then A minor, of course. And then B diminished within all this stuff. How would you want to do that then? Because that would not be in the shape. That wouldn't be in the shape either. Can you not do diminish this way? Alright, well, there we go. There's your CAGED system. It's a way of like seeing chord shapes across the fretboard so you can more easily hit chord tones. Is that it? Is that what I'm understanding here? So, is that what do you guys think? You all watched it. Well, some of you were able to anyway. I know, Sheriff, you just talked about wanting to go over to, watch it a few times. Get more of an understanding of it. It's like, I'm seeing like the chord shapes within the scales. I get that. One reason I tell students the importance and the helpfulness, the usefulness of learning your chord theory stuff, because then you can see the fretboard in all kinds of unique ways. I don't know. I'm kind of disappointed in the whole CAGED system. What do you guys think? How would you summarize the CAGED system? Is it more? I mean, I guess that's it. Like, I don't know. It's almost like... I don't know. Anyway, there we go. There's that one. Let's see what else we can... So, probably stream for... We can keep going. So I'm going to remove that from the watch later videos. So perhaps let's find another theory one, since we're on a theory kick. Heard a lot about it, but it was underwhelming. Yeah, it feels underwhelming, right? I think it's easier just to know your scale shapes and what key you're in than trying to memorize all that other stuff he was talking about. Yeah. It's one of those things, like, if it helps you, great. If it doesn't, no big deal. Well, let's see. What's another theory one we have in here? Ooh. Okay, this might be... This one says, this video is called, "This Rhythm is Impossible." I'm very curious what this one is. This was released a year ago by a channel called 12 Tone. Let's watch this one next. It's about almost 17 minutes long.
Hey, welcome to 12 Tone. In 1857, the composer Johannes Brahms published a piece called Variations on an Original Theme.
Damn, he just goes straight into it. Well, that's good. Alright, this is the next video we're going to watch. I have not watched this yet. I don't know if I've watched anything by 12 Tone yet. I don't know. When you say boot camp, are you talking about the Rhythm Crash Course? I've downloaded the drum machine metronome to my phone. It's great practice. Great to practice with instead of just being a metronome. Yeah, some people definitely prefer using the drum machine. More entertaining. My only concern with using a drum machine on some stuff is you might not hear the actual downbeat well enough I've noticed that with some students. It really depends on the beat being used, I suppose. Okay, I understand now. Gotcha. Metal Boot Camp. Alright, let's get into it. So yeah, I have not watched this video before, so genuine, honest reaction the whole time. I really want to see what the heck this impossible rhythm is, since I'm so big on teaching rhythm. Here we go.
Hey, welcome to 12 Tone. In 1857, the composer Johannes Brahms published a piece called Variations on an Original Theme, Opus 21, number 1 if you care. In it, he used a fairly common form in classical music called theme and variations, where you start with a cool melodic idea, either something you wrote yourself or borrowed from another composer, and then play around with it in different ways, effectively writing a series of miniature pieces that flow into each other, tied together by the general shape of the initial theme. And it's a fine piece, not one of his most famous, but whatever, who cares? That's not what I'm interested in here. What matters is that in Variation 5, bars 6 and 7, the left hand is instructed to play this. Now, normally I'd record a sample so you could hear what it sounds like, but in this case, I can't. Not because it's particularly hard to play. It's a pretty straightforward line. It just happens to be impossible. Let me explain. So, alright, what's the problem with...
So I'm predicting we might have a problem with doing this, or following along. He said the left hand is supposed to play that. I'm assuming this is piano based, which nothing really wrong. I gotta set this guitar down and change my position a bit. My back is starting to get sick of sitting here like this. So, because I was hoping we could like translate this to guitar, maybe like make something metally out of it. Because like when you look at that, I'm kind of curious, like, well, what the heck actually is this? Because look at that. Because right there, okay, that's a 3/8 time signature. 3/8. That's a very small bar. It's saying that 3/8 notes fills up the measure. Okay, so the way he wrote this out, looking at the bottom portion, we can see the 16th notes happening. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, duh. Right, because it's 3/8. So that's 1, 2, 3/8 notes right there. And then this top part, we see it's like 16th note triplets. So basically, you have those 3 notes happening when those 2 notes happen. So how... Yeah, I'm stumped. How is this impossible? Well, we're going to find out, right? I am intrigued.
I can't. Not because it's particularly hard to play. It's a pretty straightforward line. It just happens to be impossible. Let me explain. So, alright, what's the problem with this rhythm? Well, let's break it down. We've got stems going in both directions, which means this part has 2 distinct voices running through it, 2 melodic lines that the left hand is supposed to play simultaneously. In the bottom line, Brahms says to play straight 16th notes, well, in the top line, he's asking for 16th note triplets. And that's level 1 of this problem. The 2 parts are subdividing differently. For each 8th note that passes by, the bottom line plays 2 evenly spaced notes while the top line plays 3. The parts don't line up, but that's not impossible.
Right. I mean, you can like really simplify it. Wait, was I looking at it? Let's go back. Did I have the wrong thing up?
parts are subdividing differently. For each eighth note that passes by, the bottom line plays 2 evenly spaced notes while the top line plays 3. The parts don't line up, but that's not impossible. It's just a polyrhythm. Tricky.
Right. Okay.
Maybe, but well within the realms of human capability, especially at this tempo. A talented piano player would have no problem reproducing this, or at least they wouldn't if that was the only thing going on here. But if we look closely at this notation, we see another little wrinkle. Many of the notes in these two voices share the same note head. So, like here on the downbeat, we see that not only are both lines playing E, they're playing the same E. And this is, again, a pretty normal thing. It's a way of showing when two lines converge to make it easier to visualize their shapes. To use a simpler example, consider this. Here we have one line that alternates between B and C while the other line walks up and down the scale. They both happen to hit B at the same time on beat 3, so instead of arbitrarily deciding which one gets to use the note head, we just let them both have it. This lets us clearly see how each line is moving in and out of the shared note, and it also avoids having to include an awkward rest in one of the melodies. We can even do this with different durations. If we slow the top line down, this pitch becomes both a quarter note and an eighth note simultaneously. On piano, where each note can only be played once at any given time, this is mostly just an issue of convenience and readability, but for, say, a choral piece, where each line is sung by a different voice, this sort of notation becomes extremely important as a way of communicating that both people should sing this note together. But let's go back to our Brahms piece. If we look at the note on the downbeat, things are fine. The two lines want to hold this note for different lengths, but whatever, that's allowed. However, if we skip ahead to this note, we've got a problem. Remember, the combined note head means that these two voices are not only playing the same pitch, they're playing the same attack. So when does that attack happen? Well, if we look at the bottom voice, it happens 1/16th note after the beat. But if we look at the top voice, it happens 2 16th note triplets after the beat. Those aren't the same thing. As such, a strictly literal reading of this notation says that a single attack, a single strike of the piano key, must happen simultaneously at 2 different points in time. That's impossible. And yet here we are. On the surface, this reminds me of that math meme that floats around Twitter sometimes, where someone posts an equation like this, asks what the answer is, and people get into huge fights about the order of operations. Folks from the US mostly learned it as PEMDAS, which puts multiplication before division, resulting in an answer of 1. Folks from many other English-speaking countries were instead taught BODMAS, where division comes before multiplication, giving an answer of 16. Others may have learned that the two are equivalent, so you just do them in the order they're written, again giving 16, while still others learned that this sort of multiplication where the number is written next to the parentheses with no time symbol is higher priority, which would give 1. And it goes on like this, with everyone yelling at everyone else when the actual answer is that this is just bad mathematical notation. The intent is unclear, and any serious mathematician would just include another set of parentheses to resolve the ambiguity. But that's not actually what's going on here. In the math example, the equation was purposefully designed to create notational controversy. It's not from a paper or an exam or anything like that, it's just a way to get people riled up by communicating poorly. But in the musical example, I didn't make it up. Brahms did, and he did it in a real piece of music that he presumably intended people to be able to play. He had a specific sound he wanted to hear, and this was how he chose to communicate that sound. And he wasn't the only one either. In his paper on this rhythm, Dr. Julian Hook identifies similar impossible notations in the works of many important composers from across the 19th century, including Felix Mendelssohn, Sergei Rachmaninoff, Clara and Robert Schumann, Franz Liszt, Amy Beach, and Claude Debussy. It seems unlikely that all these composers conspired to play a century-long practical joke on their readers, but if they had a specific rhythm in mind here, then we're gonna have to figure out what it was.
Man, I really don't have much to say on this one. This is definitely, well, the drawing certainly makes stuff interesting. Huh. See, I wonder, I guess we'll find out if there actually was a specific rhythm that is supposed to be played, or if it was like a limitation of the time. Like maybe they actually heard something and that was like the best way they knew how to notate it. Because I can only wonder, what is it really like? Or, today we got stuff like Guitar Pro. where you can listen back to what you put in to make sure it actually sounds the way that you want it to. Now, I want to know how, like, when, like, you know, music stuff where, like, somehow it was all typed out in some way, like, how do they actually, you know, figure all that stuff out? Because there's some, like, really complicated crap out there. And I would imagine there has to be some kind of guesswork with some things, especially when it comes to extremely complex rhythmic things like what he's talking about there. So I wonder, is there a way to know if the composer had a specific thing in mind that actually can be conveyed with what's right there? Or was it kind of a, well, it's something like this. This is the best I can think of when putting this thing together. Because I guess you can't put that into notation. Make that, I don't know. Could you put, I guess you couldn't put that in with notation if it's an impossible thing. Because you can certainly write down whatever the hell you want, but in actual notation software, it has to be very specific. Well, let's continue.
Fortunately for us, Brahms was a talented pianist who would often play his own pieces, and his performances of this one should give us a pretty clear indication of what he thought this notation meant. Unfortunately, any such performances took place before the advent of mainstream audio recording technology, so we have no idea what they sounded like. We're just gonna have to guess. In his paper, Dr. Hook lays out 4 possible interpretations, each of which breaks one of the 3 assumptions we've been making up to this point. The first option is to simply ignore the fact that the 2 lines share a note head. We play the 16th notes evenly and we play the triplets evenly, and we accept that as a natural consequence of those decisions, this one note cannot represent one attack. Instead, it sounds twice in rapid succession. And yeah, that's a valid reading, but there's a couple problems. First of all, it sounds bad. Or, okay, it's not the worst, but has this stumbling, awkward quality to it that draws way too much attention to the left-hand part when the focus is supposed to be on the right-hand melody. It's also really difficult to play. Again, the piano only has 1 key per note, so in order to do this correctly, you have to strike the key, lift up, then strike again in a very small, precise window. And since the right hand is busy with its own thing, and the left-hand part spans over an octave at times, you probably have to do it all with 1 finger. It's not impossible, but it's very physically challenging and not stylistically appropriate, so it seems unlikely that this is what Brahms had in mind. A more plausible answer comes from Hook's second interpretation. We just assume the triplets are correct and work from there. This forces the 16th note line to stretch out, aligning its offbeat attacks with the triplet pattern in order to resolve the metric discrepancy. According to Hook, this is the approach that pretty much every performer of the piece takes, and it's the only one that allows for a nice, even rhythmic bed for the right-hand melody to sit on top of. That melody is playing straight 16ths, which means we've got a polyrhythm, but that's fine, Brahms used those. Of course, this approach still has its own problems. For starters, Hook argues that it may contradict the structure of the piece. Variation 5 is what's called a canon in inversion, which means the left-hand part is mirroring the right-hand part, but upside down. When the right hand goes up, the left goes down by the same amount, and vice versa on a 2-bar delay. But again, the right hand is playing straight 16ths, and the part of the left hand that mirrors it is the one marked with straight 16ths as well. The extra notes from the triplet line only play a low bass note in the middle. They're not a part of the canon structure. This relationship between the melodies of the 2 hands implies that when the left hand performs its response, it does so in straight 16ths, not as a triplet.
Does anyone in the chat right now know what the heck a canon is involved with music? I have no idea. I'm assuming it's a classical music thing. I mean, you hear about it all the time, right? Perhaps because it's not in the metal world. Is it? Are there metal canons? I mean, does anyone know? Obviously, I can look it up, but we're not going to do that right now. Let's keep going. I really don't think I'm going to be playing anything with this video. Oh well. Can't always win them all with stuff that we watch. And how many people are lost right now? I know what he's talking about, triplets and polyrhythms and all that stuff, but I can imagine it's confusing as hell for somebody.
But there's also a more fundamental issue here. If Brahms had meant for this to be played as a constant stream of triplets, why didn't he write that? It wouldn't be hard to do. You just have to turn these from straight 16ths to 8th note triplets and boom, problem solved. In fact, why even have a second voice at all? The triplet part hits all the notes the other one does, so why not just write it like this and be done with it? What purpose does the second line serve? Keep that question in mind, we'll be coming back to it. A lot. But okay, let's say we're convinced by these arguments that the more important line is in fact the straight 16ths. How does that sound? Well, Hook offers two options. The first of these is to say that since we're moving the last triplet forward to align with the straight note, we should also move the middle one forward so it still divides the space evenly. That sounds like this. And I'm unconvinced. Again, we have to ask why he would choose to notate it like this when he could just use 30-second notes instead, especially when he's more than happy to use them elsewhere in the piece. This is a possible reading, but I don't think it's a very compelling one. The better option, I think, is Hook's fourth interpretation, where the middle note stays still and only the last one gets pushed forward, creating a sort of galloping rhythm between the two lines that evokes the applied polyrhythm without having to deal with those awkward repeated notes.
I wouldn't call that a gallop. I said the first way he did it was a reverse gallop, like da 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 da. That's a reverse gallop. He was just a da 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 da. That's like a shuffle, a swing feel thing. Do people think that's a galloping sound? I don't. It would be interesting to see someone like Mozart interpret this piece. It would be interesting. Fly, man! Had to look it up. In music, a canon is a... what? Oh, counterpoint contrapuntal? Counterpoint-based compositional technique that employs a melody with one or more imitations of the melody played after a given duration. Okay... So kind of like a melody that just builds upon itself by like, here's the melody, slight change to the melody, slight change to the melody, slight change to the melody. It looks like that frickin' heart emoji is blocking a word. I'm just going to type something so I can hear something. No, e.g. quarter rest, one measure, etc. It doesn't make any sense to me. Quarter note rest, then one measure? Well, let's go on.
Personally, I really like this version, partly because it sounds nice and partly because it seems to be the one that's most usefully notated the way Brahms did it. There's still other ways to write this, and they may technically be clearer, but they're relatively complex and difficult to read compared to the alternatives for our other versions. It's not a perfect interpretation, but I think it makes a lot of sense. Or at least it would if it weren't for the fact that this entire time we've been making one extremely dangerous unspoken assumption. We've been assuming that Brahms intended for this rhythm to be read precisely. And in a world of drum machines and prog rock, that makes a lot of sense. That's how most of us interact with musical time. But the thing about history is that sometimes things were different in the past. Shocking, I know.
I was kind of thinking that. It was more like a, well, it's something like this, so he just put it down the best he could think of. I think, what was it? There was actually some Adam Neely stuff I wanted to make videos on. He had like some rhythm. He was talking about how complex it is. And then he just played like a single bar of it and then was done instead of actually looping it so we could actually hear what the heck the rhythm was. I have no idea what it was. That was a long time ago. But I remember he did... There was like some video where they were talking about like the difference between like a jazz musician playing a quarter note triplet versus like a classical musician playing a quarter note triplet. And he showed a clip of the classical musician absolutely butchering a quarter note triplet. Wouldn't that be 1, 2, and 3? 1, 2, and 3. Alright, so 1 and 2. 1, 2. Yeah, 2 and 3. 1 and 2. Man, that's weird doing it with my hands and then trying to count it. I'm used to it's like 1 and da, 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 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. That is a quarter note triplet, right? There we go. 2 and 3. 2 and 3. 1, 2 and 3. 1, 2 and 3. 1, 2 and how the hell do you divide it up? I don't remember the trick. And I teach my students this all the time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 3 and 1 and 3 and that's the count. 1 and 3 and 1 and 3 and. Anyway, so that's a quarter note triplet. Basically 3 across 2 polyrhythm because you're taking like 3 notes, evenly spacing it across 2. Yes. But anyway, the classical guy, it wasn't evenly spaced. It was just kind of like well, here's 3 things, go fuck yourself. Because it just wasn't precise. Can I do a 5/4 beat? Well, yeah, it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's all it would be. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can do 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and. Just counting to 5. That's all 5/4 is. But yeah, so the classical guy did not play an evenly spaced quarter note triplet. So I would argue he didn't play a quarter note triplet. He just played 3 things. And then show like how, and Adam Neely was talking about the jazz musician would play a precise quarter note triplet. And apparently like there's like some difference with how classical musicians will play certain things like that versus the jazz musician. And to me, it's either you played it mathematically correct or not. Either it's right or it's not. It's math. So how the hell can you just like, oh, I'm just going to fluctuate this triplet? Well, it's not then. Anyway. Meshuggah, the polyrhythm class. I wonder how much polyrhythm is actually done with Meshuggah, though, because I know they're really polymetric. You know, they have like 5/4 and 3/4 and 4/4 all converging into 1. Because remember a few years ago when someone asked me, back when I would do this sort of thing, like do a lesson on how to play the intro to Bleed from Meshuggah, and like I couldn't say like any of that was a polyrhythm. It was a polymeter. It had a 4/4 time signature being played, and they keep changing how the rhythm is being played, like how many beats are going along with that. So it wasn't 2 different tempos at the same time that end up aligning over and over again at different places. It was the tempo was the same. It was just the time signatures kept changing. But a lot of people say Meshuggah does the polyrhythm thing. But I don't know a lot about Meshuggah, so I could be wrong. Just what I've seen, it's polymetric. Also a fun video with Matthias Freak Kitchen. Oh yeah, replays polyrhythms. Yeah, the freak audio. Yeah, he does all kinds of. He does that Takata rhythm stuff, right? Yeah, Meshuggah's definitely the math metal band, because they were the first ones to really do any of that stuff, right? Let's continue.
These days we're used to studio recordings made with the aid of click tracks and quantizing software, allowing for extremely precise time feels if the artist wants, but in the 19th century all they had to go on was vibes. time vibes, if you will. And that doesn't mean they were worse at keeping time than we were. It means they had a completely different idea of what being good at keeping time meant. Most pieces from the Romantic era, especially ones for solo instruments like this, were written with the expectation that the performer would employ some level of rubato, speeding up and slowing down the tempo for the sake of expression. With those sorts of time vibes, the difference between a 16th note and a 16th note triplet isn't very big. Even at the extremely slow tempo of around 40 BPM that most recordings of this piece seem to use, the two attacks are only an eighth of a second apart. In principle, that's a pretty noticeable difference, but when the tempo is already ebbing and flowing, it can easily melt away. You can start to convince yourself that these two metric positions do happen at the same time, even if the score says they can't. Because of that, I'd assume that Brahms was probably thinking of this as basically using the triplet interpretation. He just wasn't all that worried about the possible misalignment. And since that's what pretty much every recorded version of the piece does, I suspect I'm not alone here. But if so, that still leaves us with one annoying little question. If that's what he meant, why did he choose to notate it like this? It may be the most reasonable way for us to read what he wrote, but that doesn't make it the most reasonable way for him to write what he intended us to read. It's unnecessarily cluttered, and it doesn't clearly and unambiguously communicate his intent, so it's still bad notation. Right? Well, only if we assume that rhythm is the only thing he wanted us to read here. So far, we've only been talking about Variation 5, but if we're looking for another explanation for this weird notation choice, it turns out there might be a clue earlier on in the same piece. All the way back in Variation 1, he instructs the right hand to play this. And again, we have two different voices, marked by two different stem directions, with shared note heads. But this time, the rhythm makes even less sense. Taken literally, this attack is a full quarter note after the downbeat in one voice, but in the other voice, the only note before it is this one, so the same attack must happen in an eighth note after the downbeat. But that is, of course, an absurd way to interpret this notation. Instead, it seems much more reasonable to say that this second voice only exists on the first and third beats of each bar, and is simply not there in between. But why do that? Again, it's just doubling the first voice. It's not adding a harmony or anything else new. It conveys no information about rhythm or pitch, so why include it at all? I think what he's trying to do with this is connect this walk down back to the pickup at the start of the line. The second voice communicates information not about rhythm, but about phrasing. It says these two notes are doing the same thing as these two notes, and you, as the performer, should play them the same way. You should think of them as setting up the start of the next bar, not the conclusion of the current one. And I think that's roughly what he's doing in Variation 5 as well. Remember, this variation is a canon in inversion, and the straight 16th line is the one that contains that important structural element. But if we just write out the triplets, that connection isn't immediately visible. It looks like the left hand is just jumping around, so you, the performer, might miss the underlying relationship between the two hands, and thus fail to bring it out in your playing. By adding a second notated line, he's presenting a sort of preemptive analysis of his own work, a melodic reduction that explains to the reader how the piece is intended to be read. So it's not actually an impossible rhythm, because it's not a rhythm at all. Now, is any of that true? I don't know. I'm not a Brahms scholar, I'm just some doofus with a YouTube channel and an uncomfortably high budget for Sharpies. But there is some textual evidence to support it. In the first edition of the piece, by Brahms's regular publisher Fritz Simrock, bar 3 of Variation 5 looks like this, with the top voice playing sixteenths and the bottom voice playing triplets. In bar 4, though, he writes this, and the two have switched, with the top voice playing triplets and the bottom playing sixteenths. If this were actually meant to reflect two distinct melodic voices, that would be a really strange decision. The lines are jumping back and forth between two different rhythmic patterns, seemingly at random. But there is one thing that unites these two bars. In both cases, the stems for the triplet voice are pointing in the correct direction. They go down when the notes are above the middle of the staff, and up when they're below. And later, in the second half of the section, he stops notating the 16th note line entirely, even though the canon structure keeps going, probably because he feels like you've got the point. This implies, to me at least, that there was never supposed to be a second melodic line. The triplets are the only actual melody here, which is why throughout the section, they're consistently the one that's notated correctly. That's what the left hand is supposed to be playing, and the other set of stems is meant to communicate something much more subtle and nuanced. And that's the thing about notation. It's easy to think of written music as an objective record of sounds, but it's not. Notation is just symbols. Symbols require context, and over time that context gets lost. Brahms almost certainly didn't write it like this to be mysterious. On the contrary, he tended to be a pretty meticulous notator, and his works, including this one, were often full of precise performance instructions. He wanted you to know exactly how you were supposed to play his stuff. He wrote it like this because he assumed that the people who were going to read it would know what he meant. And he was probably right. Again, lots of other Romantic composers did the same thing. This was a recognizable symbol among his target audience. But we're not his target audience. We're looking at his work from a century and a half in the future. In that time, music has changed considerably, and so has the way we write it down, so now we're left with a strange notational mystery, not because he was unclear, but because he was speaking a different musical language. And hey, thanks for watching, thanks to our Patreon patrons for making these videos possible, and extra special thanks to our featured patrons, Susan Jones, Jill Sundgaard, Duck, Howard Levine, Warren Hewart, Kevin Willimowski, Grant
Well, there you go. We learned nothing to apply to guitar. And that's disappointing. So, underwhelming experience with the CAGED system. You got to watch me struggle with trying to remember how the hell 7th chords and 6th chords are related. And, well, we got some theory talk out of the CAGED system thing anyway. Damn. This video is a letdown. I mean, it was an entertaining video for sure, but, you know, it doesn't really help us with playing guitar right now, does it? How Yngwie speeds up and slows down within the bars to fit in odd things, but he makes it work. Yeah, but there's still a way of notating it so we can actually see it and even put it in something like Guitar Pro so it can be played back well enough. That's one of the reasons why I freaking hate trying to transcribe, figure out guitar solo stuff, because it's like, you know, we can. I can figure stuff out like listening to it and mimicking it, but then actually being able to put it into some kind of mathematical structure so that it fits the bar at the same time. It's like, that's where just handwriting it on tab can help, but then actually putting it in something like Guitar Pro, trying to make it precise, it can just be an absolute freaking nightmare because so many fluctuations of what the person is trying to play can happen, especially in older solos or people that, you know, weren't raised on click tracks. All kinds of things can fluctuate, and it makes it an absolute nightmare to try and put down to paper or program. You know, time for some metal, yes. Time. I gotta get this thing up here. Hang on a second. All right. I'm going to do that thing once more. I'm going to call this... Hang on. Wait. It's already there. I have it. Show it to me. Hey! I do have it still. Bam. All right. Be right back. Hopefully I don't knock the damn desk over again or break it. Lord. Okay, I'm back with a protein bar. Because, god damn it, I need food. I didn't knock it over. I managed to come without knocking the damn desk down. Time for some metal. Well, yes, let's do something. Well, let's hopefully the next video is going to be more appropriate for what this channel is about. There we go. Okay. Earlier morning music lesson. Stream started 7 a.m. in Australia. God damn. What are you doing up so early? It's Saturday over there. Why are you up so early? Well, hey, I'm glad you're on. Glad you can make it. Okay. Let's pick another video. I need to stop streaming in like 35 minutes. Probably should, yeah. Alright, so we're removing that one from the list. So we need something. See if we can find another theory-based thing that's not too long. The mystery chord. The most important music theory idea you'll ever learn. Oh, you got it just for this. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. All right. The most important music theory idea you'll ever learn. Let's go for that one. It's like 10 minutes and 53 seconds.
Hey.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hey, hey.
Hey guys, and welcome.
All right, so we got a piano here. Good chance we can still translate it to guitar. This is by from a channel called Mangold Project. Mangold Project? I don't know. Mangold. M-A-N-G-O-L-D. One word. So let's find out the most important music theory idea we will ever learn. I'm already skeptical. But let's find out. Maybe this will be the most important one we have ever learned and ever will. Tonicization?
Welcome back to another lesson. Today I'd like to show you a simple idea called tonicization.
I'm an idiot. I didn't want you to hear me chewing. So I fucking muted the mic and I forgot the mic is what's picking up the video. Let's start that again. God damn it.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another lesson. Today I'd like to show you a simple idea called tonicization, which can lead to very sophisticated sounding chord progression. For example, something like this.
lot of chords going on there. What beats per minute would I recommend for writing death metal? I don't have a recommendation because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what speed it is. You can have slow, you can have medium, and fast-paced death metal. You just gotta go for it. Just see what happens. I don't like the idea of trying to write something just for a specific beats per minute unless it's lesson-based. If it's about creativity and expression, just make it happen. See how it goes. All right. That was a lot of chords. And he was including all kinds of stuff up here when doing that too. Where does that start? Is it right here?
For example, something like this.
Oh, let me slow it way down so we can grasp this. A minor 9. So with an 11 over G. And then he has over here B minor 7, C major 7, G, G major add 2, C major 7, G. What in the heck? G, B, C, E, G again, A, B. Let's see. So A minor 9. Why would he put the 11 in parentheses? Why not just call it A minor 11? Odd. Let's bring our notes up. Let's start taking some more notes. All right, so he's talking about, well, an A minor 9 starts with an A minor triad, which is A, C, and E. There we go. So minor 9 means there's also your flat 7 and a 9. So we also have a G and a B involved. Now that is a nice pleasant chord. Working out causes you to be all over the place in terms of questions and topics. Okay, so the 11 would be the D note, but that's also just saying it's just an A minor 11 over a G, so he's putting that in the base of the chord. But that's already, I mean, that's one of the notes in the chord. Let me see if I'm missing any of the notes he has listed on the screen. So let's see. You got the A, C, and E, right? G and the B. So there's a G and the B and a B here. So 2 G's, 2 B's. And then you got the D notes, right there. So that's everything all accounted for. But he has the G in the bass. So why not just call it A minor 11 over G? I don't know why he has that in parentheses. Huh. And then, how else could you call it? So I see a G, B, and a D there. Because you could say, let's see, how would that go? So we got a G, B, and a D. There's a G major chord right there. What else? G, B, and D. The C is the 4. C is the 4. You have an E. E is the 6. So we got a 4 and a 6. 4. We have a sixth interval. Am I missing anything? 1, 2, 3, 4. The A. And the A note in there. That's a 2. The A is the 2. Wow, it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's nutty. You could call it frickin' G6 add 9 add 11. Because G major 7 add 2. G major 7. No, G major add 2. Anyway. Maybe we should just watch. Let me go over these chords though. E7, flat 9, flat 5. So that's an E dominant 7 to start. Which would be E, G sharp, B, and D. But he says it has a flat 5, so that means it's a B flat plus the flat 9, which is an F. But he also has an A flat. What's going on here? E7, E, G sharp. Oh, he's saying A flat instead of G sharp. Aha, okay. And then the B flat. Back to that chord again. That's weird. So when he puts in his notes, you see that was like being auto-generated at the top of the page. Huh. So C13 flat 9. Okay, that could be a lot of stuff in here. C13. Let's go for the full thing. So C13. So you have your C major chord to start, C, E, G. So that's a dominant 13. So that means we have B flat. Also can have, well, in this case it's a flat 9 as it's shown there. So that's a D flat. The 11th, which is part of the full thing, is an F, which is not included in that chord right now. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What's missing? There's the root. There's the third. Here, let me do it like this. So there's the 1. Actually, let's do it like this. C is the 1. E is the 3. G is the 5. B flat is the flat 7. And then D is the 9, so we need a D flat for the flat 9. The 11th is an F, which is missing. And then the 13 is an A. F major 7 over a C. Well, that's a nice easy one, isn't it? Whoops. Oop. Nope, I missed it. B flat 13 sus. So that automatically means it's a one. We got a 1, 4, and a 5 in there. Oh man, this one's gonna be a pain. B flat is the 1. The 4 of B flat is E flat. And then we got F as the 5. And everything else is involved, supposedly. So we can also have, we need to have the 7. He doesn't have all that stuff. So let's see, the 7th, be A. A is the 7. And then C is the 9. I'm assuming that's not going to be part of it because of the suspended chord thing. I'm just kind of writing this out and I'm going to double check what's there. This is me just exploring the theory that's on the screen right now. Then the 11, which is already there, is the E flat, same thing, same note anyway. And the 13 is a G. So the B flat, yep, I got that in there. The F is there. A flat, why A flat? Oh, I screwed up. It's supposed to be a flat 7. I screwed that up. God damn it. Yep. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, so A flat for the flat 7. And then he's got a C in there for the 9, so he does have that. And then G, no G though. Well, how can you say it's a flat 13 with, oh wait, there it is, I see it. I see the G. I was wrong. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Huh, well, there you go. Imagine playing that on guitar. Good luck. Good luck. You'd have all 6 strings being involved. Start with B flat as the lowest. That ain't gonna happen. Your B flat, your E flat. There's your F. And A flat at that point. Well, you're definitely not gonna play that there. You can play the G though. God. Yeah. You definitely have to change things up quite a bit. I don't even know if you could play this on guitar. So you start with the B flat right there. Well, there's 4 of the notes anyway. Oof, anyway. Ha, look how it's changing so quick. Alright, let's just keep going here. This is going to take forever. Let's just get to the idea who's going to teach us.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically present the 2 examples.
Alright, here we go.
Okay, so let's start with the concept itself. Tonicization is also called secondary dominance, and it's the following idea. Basically, it's that you can precede any chord, a major or a minor, with a dominant 7th chord that is a perfect 4th below it. Okay, let's see what this means. Let's say that you have a C major chord. The chord or the note that is a perfect 4th below it, that is 5 semitones below it, is G. And the way you see this is you start with C and you count 5 semitones down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you get to a G. And this means that wherever you see a C major, you can precede it with a G dominant 7th chord. Let's do another example. Let's take D minor. So, starting from a D, you go a perfect fourth down, so 5 semitones, let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is an A, and this means that I can precede the D minor with an A dominant 7th chord. Now this seemingly simple idea can help you create pretty advanced sounding chord progressions. Let me give you 2 examples, and we'll start with a simple example. Let's take a simple chord progression, which would be a C major, going to an A minor, going to an F major, going to a G major. So, and let's start adding these secondary dominants. Let's start by tonicizing the
So you gotta
progression.
precede it, huh?
And let's start with the A minor. So for A minor,
Let me see if I can get this, if I can predict this thing right. Who said music theory was simple? Victor Wooten said it was. Victor Wooten said music theory was simple because of the 30 keys he described and how to quickly go from one thing to the next. I remember. Yeah. Music theory, yeah, is simplifying it is tough. It's not that simple. I mean, it's all math. When you understand the formulas and what the numbers mean, it does make sense. But getting to that point of understanding it can be very challenging. So get what he's talking about. It's like, this is like where I think the whole circle of fifths thing comes into play with composition. Of like using the fifth interval to do it. So I don't know why he was always talking about going down a perfect fourth, I think he said. Which is still like the fifth interval. Because G is the 5 of C. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, that's why you got your G dominant 7 to the C major. So, am I understanding this right? We're going to take a C chord here. And then to go to the A minor, he says you're supposed to, you precede the next chord with the dominant thing. Or subdominant, as he said. So the fifth of A minor is E. Or the fifth interval is E. So basically you hit this. Remember, shoot it like this. We got your C major, E dominant 7, to an A minor. And then to go to the F, C is the 5 of F. So that we hit the C major 7, or C dominant 7. To the F major. Doing this so. Well, so far that sounds goofy. Question, what is the optimal amount of force do you fret with to be limber and fast? I have a problem with tension and using too much force, but I'm getting better at it. That's one of those unanswerable questions, because I don't know how you would quantize that or quantify that. You need just enough force to hear the note without it buzzing. So, that's the answer. enough force that the note sounds the way you want it to, and no more. And that's it. So the more you play, the more relaxed you can be with it. Because when you're learning a new thing or trying something new, it's natural to have excess tension at first because you're concentrating so much to do the new thing. But then you get more and more comfortable with it and you can relax a bit more. But yeah, just enough. Just enough. You don't want to be very heavy-handed with these things. You're welcome. Same thing with like picking. Sometimes people pick way too dang hard and it's just like, let the amp do the work for you. Let it help you. 11 months. Oh, you're just starting out then. You got a long ways ahead of you. Yeah, it'll get there. Alright, so let's see if I understood his explanation correctly. Now he's going to give us some demonstration.
If we go down a perfect fourth, we count down 5 semitones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we get to the E, and this means that we can precede the A minor.
Wait a minute. Okay, so I really screwed that up then. Okay. So you play the... Wait, what? Oh no, I did that. Yeah. So you got the C, and then the E dominant 7, that's what I did, and then the A minor. Right, okay.
Now, I'm not going to use the root position like this, I'm going to use this voicing for the E dominant 7. And the chord progression will now sound like this. Not bad, pretty interesting. Let's take it one step forward. Let's look at the F chord. Well, if we want to add a secondary dominant to it, then starting from the F, we go a perfect fourth down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 semitones, and we get to a C, and this means that we can precede the F with a C dominant 7 chord. Of course, as before, I'm going to use different inversions of this chord. I'll use this C dominant 7th variation, and the chord progression will sound something like this. And finally, we can also add a secondary dominant to the G major. So G, down the perfect fourth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that will be preceding it with a D dominant 7. And I can even make it a D dominant 9.
Oh shit.
And now the full chord progression will sound like this. Now I'm sure some of these additions sounded maybe more pleasing to your ears, some sounded less pleasing. You don't have to use them, it's just an idea that you can use. In fact, as with all things in music, if you overuse it, then you'll end up boring yourself and the listener. So use it sparingly. When it actually adds to the music, experiment and see whether the added secondary dominant contributes to the progression or detracts from it.
Still wouldn't call this the most important theory idea you'll learn. How can we turn this into a more metal thing? We need different chords at first. Let's see. Alright, so we got our chords down there. I suppose we could use some kind of arpeggios for some of this. Let's see. We got us the C chord. Which lands us on that E. Then we gotta do the E dominant 7. How do I play that? Well, doesn't sound very metal, but I guess it's more metal because we did that. Let's see. Nice and hokey sounding. Well, I kind of metalified the idea, but having all those major chords, it's oof. I need some more minors involved. That's phrasing. Oh Lord, minor chords. God damn it.
Added secondary dominant contributes to the progression or detracts from it. Let's take another example, and for this example I'll switch to an electric piano. And in fact, what I'm going to do, this might be surprising at first, but I'm going to play the exact same chord progression. C, A minor, F major, G major.
Oh, he's getting really fancy here. So C major 9, and then the dominant there, E dominant 7 with a flat 5 and a flat 9. Well, this is basically what he was doing at the beginning, right? A minor 11, C dominant 13 with a flat 9, F major 9, D7 flat 5 flat 9, so same as the E7, just D7 instead, into a G9 suspended 4. Holy butt. Okay, we're going a little bit longer on the stream than I intended, but that's okay. As long as I leave the house by 4:30, I'm okay. God damn. C major. Okay, class. What are all these chords? Well, we're going to get into it. Let's see how we can actually play these things on guitar. This will be interesting. Because with guitar, there's only so much that we can do with our 4 fingers, sometimes the thumb, and 6 strings. So when we have chords that involve 6 or 7 notes, a 13th chord has 7 notes. 7 different notes. We can't freaking play it now, can we? We can't play a chord with 7 notes on a guitar. One of them's got to go. Not the root note, the damn 5th interval. Maybe some other stuff too. And that was kind of going a callback to that last, well, the first video we were watching where Brian Kelly said, what was it? Chord formation, you can leave out the root note when it's an extended chord, such as the 7th chord or beyond, which is the first time I've heard that one. But anyway. C major 9. Anyone want to take a guess as what a C major 9 consists of? Or maybe not a guess, you just know what it is. Alright, C major 9. And this is definitely going to be, after this video, the stream is over. I do have to be done within 30 minutes here. C major 9. So we start with your major triad for C, which is C, E, and G. So that's your building blocks. So talk about the whole like theory being, you know, simple or confusing and whatnot. Like everything builds from one thing to the next. So like when I work with students, one of the first things we do in theory is learn about triad chords. Your major, minor, diminished. Not so much, I mean, augmented chord is a triad, but I like to keep things in key. So working with a lot of like basically stuff in the major scale, major and minor keys. Eventually, for those who stay around long enough, we get into exotic scales like harmonic minor, which does have an augmented chord. But anyway, so the chord name is telling us we have the major triad, C, E, and G, and then it says major 9, but it is implied that the 7th interval is also there. So we have the B note, and then the 9, we have the D note. So right there is a C major 9. You could leave out the G note to make things easier, because the 5th interval does not define the overall quality of the chord. Now, if it was a diminished chord, or based off a diminished chord, or an augmented chord, we would have to have that in there. Diminished chord has to have the flat 5, augmented chord has to have the sharp 5. That's what makes a diminished chord diminished, that flat 5. And the augmented chord is there because of the sharp 5. Anyway, so C major 9, that's what we got there. Now, I do teach this one, I remember it right offhand, so we can have our C. Let's change this over. So C major 7. So we need the 9, which is a D note, so we can just do that. So there's a really simple way of playing a C major 9. Just go 3 on the A string, and all open D, G, B, and E. There's a nice simple way of playing a C major 9. Okay. The next chord he has listed is an E7 flat 5 flat 9. That's a mouthful. E7 flat 5 flat 9. Whoops. Okay. The hell does that mean? So this is based off of an E dominant 7. We did talk about that earlier in the stream. This is based off of a major chord as well. That's the starting point. That's your building block. So an E major chord is E, G sharp, and B. So E, G sharp, and B. So now we need the flat 7, which is a D note. The flat 7 of E is D. And now the chord is telling us that we need a flat 5. So we're going to backtrack here. We're going to put in a B flat. Because the 5, or the B is the 5 of E, so that we just flat it, lower it down a half step. And it also says we have a flat 9. So the 9th interval of E, just go up a whole step, that's F sharp, so you flat that, you got yourself an F. So, how do we want to play that? Let's see, so we're gonna see how many open chords we can actually do. So we got the C major 9. So E7, oh Lord. So we'll start with the E major chord. Now we gotta make it dominant 7. So I'm just gonna take my ring finger off the E note on the D string, open up that D note, or the D string, so we got that in there. But we also need to flat the 5, so we can just do it like this. We cannot play that B string anymore. That's not part of the chord. But we do need an F. Let's see. How else could we do this? We could probably do it like that. And then get the F in there that way. thinking about this wrong. So there's your root note, there's your flat 5, there's the flat 9, there's the major third still. D is the freaking flat 7, and then your F note again. All right, E, B flat, F, G sharp, D, and F. There you go. So there's an E7, flat 5, flat 9 you can play on the guitar. So basically, it's also, you can view it as a B flat dominant 7 over E. Because you have a B flat dominant 7th chord right there, and the E is your new bass note. But so that's another way of looking at the chord. So far we have this to this. Is anyone playing along right now? All right, the next chord, A minor 11. So the A minor 11, reading this, A minor, that tells us the triad this is based off of, the foundation. So it's an A minor chord to start. That's A, C, and E. And then there's two things kind of hidden in that chord. So you can have an A minor 7, which is the minor triad plus a flat 7. A minor 7 chord always has a flat 7. That's what it is, which is a G note. And then an A minor 9 builds upon the A minor 7. So now we have another note, the 9th interval, which is a B note. And now the 11 adds to that. So a minor 11 chord has the root, flat 3rd, 5, flat 7, 9, and the 11th interval. So got to add in the D note here. That gives us 6 notes. That can be a problem. How in the hell are we supposed to play that? So the way I was taught 11th chords is you don't need the 9. You don't need the 9th interval. You know, I often see those chords now written as like minor 7 add 11. Minor 7 add 11 because you don't have the 9. So I guess that's a couple ways you can write it. You can say an A minor 11 as long as you have the root, flat 3rd, and really the flat 7 and 9. But I guess a more specific way of calling that chord would be minor 11 add 9. So, here's the way I was taught to do this. It's such a super simple chord. Here's an A minor. There's your A minor 7, and then just take the 5th interval, drop it down to the 4. 4th interval is the same as the 11th interval. That's a really easy way of playing an A minor 11. Or to be more specific, it's A minor 7 add 11. So your guitar in standard tuning is an E minor 7 add 11. Did you know that? Technically E minor 11. More specific, E minor 7 add 11. Anyway, so how can we do this here? Because we only have so many fingers and strings. We do have 6 strings, but we start over here. We turn that into the A minor 7. We can do it like this. And I would say the most important next note would be the 11, which is your D note. So we can just take that E note off of that string here, lift that up. If you really wanted the 9, you would need to include the B somewhere. The easiest place would be letting go right there. But then we don't have the C note, which is your minor 3rd, which is pretty important when it comes to these chords, or like make sure you have that minor quality in there. So we could do it like this. There's your root note. There's your flat 3rd. The D note is the 11. The G note is the flat 7. the B note is the 9, and your E note is the 5. So that's all 6 notes, isn't it? I'm just double checking. There's A, C, E, G, B, D. So there you go. There's a full A minor 11 chord. So we got your C major 7, the E 7 flat 5 flat 9, A minor 11. The chat has gone silent. We should got some viewers still. That's good. Anyway, again, anyone following along? Guessing not. That's okay. All right, so the next chord there, C13 flat 9. Okay, this is one we are going to have to skip a note for sure, because this is 7 notes total for a C dominant 13 flat 9. So C13 flat 9. So when you have like those big numbers past 7, like the other intervals are implied within the chord name. The flat 9 is listed there because it's a variation. It's not just a regular 9 anymore, it's been altered. So we're starting with the major triad again, because this is based off of the major chord. A dominant chord is based off of a major chord. So we have, whoops, I'm putting in the interval numbers. C, E, and G, that's the start. So there's your first, third, and fifth. Now we need the flat 7th interval, which is B flat. So it says we have the flat 9. So D is the 9 of C, so we need a D flat. So it's also implied in that chord name we have an 11, which is F. And then finally the 13, that's an A. And the 13th interval is the same note name as the 6th. Just when you consider the octaves and whatnot, it can change some stuff. Anyway, so C13 flat 9, good lord. Some's got to go. And the best choice would be the G, because it doesn't need to be there. It's the 5th interval. It doesn't define the overall quality of the chord. So we can leave that one out. So let's just skip it right now. I'm going to put that in parentheses because we're going to skip it. We could leave out the 9 and the 11 as well, which would technically make it like a C7 add 13. But no, we can't leave out the 9. It says it's a flat 9. So we could leave out the 11, and then we could have like C7 flat 9 add 11, to be really specific. No, C13, I screwed that up big time. C13 flat 9 add 11, that's a possibility. Anyway, but the 11, I would argue, is also expendable. So I would say the most important notes are going to be the root, the 3rd, flat 7, flat 9, and the 13. Let's see what we can do here. So starting over here, we have 5 strings. If we're going to only use 5 strings, we're already in trouble because we still have 6 notes to work with if we want to include that 11th interval. So far we have this chord, this one, this one. We might be able to come up here and see something. So we can start with the major triad there, or not major triad, the dyad, because we're not going to use that G anymore. But we could start this C7 no 5. Alright, so the flat 9 is, what was that again? That's the D flat, which we can play right there. Oof. Then we need, yeah, see, this is going to get complicated for sure. Could you see, we do have an A note for the 13, so it might be best if we do it like this. We're going to use the open A, C, A, so right to the 13 there. There's the D flat. No, the D flat. The A flat. No, B flat. For God's sake, B flat. B flat. That's a nice sound, isn't it? All right, so C. So the root, in this case 13 right now. We're going straight to that because you take advantage of the open strings. And then we got the flat 7 right there, the B flat. And then let's see, what could we come next? We play the E right here, but we also have the open E we could use up top. So maybe we go to the F, or should we go to the D flat next? I'm going to say the D flat next. Good goddamn. Oof. Well, there's a hell of a chord. That is not friendly to hold at all. So, there's your root note. There's the C. Let's go in order here. So, we got C. E is your major third. We're leaving out the G because we don't have enough strings anyway. B flat is right here. D flat is here on the G string. F, 6th fret on the B string, and then A, got that open A right there. There you go. C13 flat 9. No 5. Good goddamn. So we got this. Okay, the next chord, F major 9. Well, simple ones compared to that last chord. Damn. So, once again, we're building off of the major triad. So that gives us F, A, C, E, face for the F major 7, and then we add in a G for the 9. That's a pretty straightforward one. Just F, A, C, E, G, skipping every other natural note name. And there you go. Face J. What's a nice simple way of doing it? So there's your F major chord. Turn it into an F major 7 here. We need to add in the G notes. Easiest place to do that is there. Open up that G string. We lose the A note, so we got to add that back in. So let's open up the A string. But we lost the C, but we can put that up here on the B string now. And there's a nice F major 9. So far, that's a brutal chord progression right there. Bro, that's like that freaking C13 flat 9 is a pain in the ass to play. That is not a guitar chord. In other words, that chord is not designed for guitar. No. Alright, F major 9 was that. So D7 flat 5 flat 9. Oh god. Okay, how are we going to do that now? Well, let's find out. What are those notes? Basically, it's just move everything down a whole step from the other thing. But anyway, D7 flat 5 flat 9. So once again, we start with our major triad, so that would be D, F sharp, A. But it does say in the chord name we need it to be a flat 5, so it's not A, it's A flat. Anyway. And then need the flat 7, which is a C note, and then the flat 9, which would be an E flat. Okay, how in the hell are we going to play that? D, F sharp, A flat, C, and E flat. Well, I want to have D as the lowest sounding notes. I want that in the bass. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We could possibly start it here. Might be easier to start it here. Oh god. Okay, so we got this. The A flat, that ain't happening very easily from there. We could play the C here. Yes, I'm seeing it right there. Oof. Alright, let me double check this. I got it right. So here's your D, F sharp. That is... No, that's not right. No, it is. That's a C. Yeah. Right, we want the flat 7. Alright, never mind. So, root, third, flat 7. There's your E flat for the flat 9. And there's your A flat for the flat 5. So I'm going to go in order here. So D, F sharp is here. The A flat is here. The E flat is here. And the C natural is here. So there you go. God damn. Can I remember all that? I should be putting this in Guitar Pro, shouldn't I? I better. I'm going to forget this. New file. Acoustic. I wonder what chord names Guitar Pro is going to bring up. Alright, so we start with this. I'll just do like that. And then we have this, 3, 1, 3, 1, right? The A minor 11, we went with that. C13 flat 9, that's when I did this monster of a chord. Right? Because you see a... Yeah, that's it. So 808660. 808660. God. Okay, and then F major 9, much easier to play. Nope. That. And then the D7 flat 5 flat 9. How did I just now do that? It was this. Right. 5 4 5 4 4. 5 4 5 4 4. Okay. Next chord. The last chord. Oh, thank Bob. Oh my God! Look at the time. 4:24. All right, good thing. We're at the very end here. Time to start saying our goodbyes, everybody. G9 suspended 4. Okay, so this is actually going to be based off of G suspended 4. So G sus 4 is G C D. So let's put this in here. G9 sus 4. Got your G, C, and D. And then the 9, so G9 implies a dominant 7 or flat 7, so we actually have F. And the 9 is an A. You're very welcome. Thank you for watching and listening to all this stuff. Guess it's a good test of my brain to or form my brain to keep up with these things so I can teach it better. All right. So the G9 sus4. So you got the G sus4 in there. G, C, D. And then we need the flat 7, which is the F. We need the 9, which is the A. Okay. So playing that now, we could put the A in the open A string. Then we could put the F here. Well, do we want to have the open D string though? I guess we could do it like that. Sounds nice. G, A. Let me go in order. So G, the C note is here. The D note is open. The F note is up here on the 6th fret of the B string, and then the A note is open as well. So there's a G9 suspended 4. I like that, but I wonder, like, because you can also do G, C, F. You have to use your thumb for that. Then you wouldn't have the A. Trying to think, those. Ugh, I don't like that feeling at all. I guess we just do it that way. Works just fine. Alright, so that gives us 3, 0, 0, 5, 6. I don't want to save this. I don't know, just go over here. We'll say stream chords. Oof. Wow. Oh, here you go. Those are the chords. Now, how's that going to sound playing along with this guy? I'm going to have to move this over. God. Alright, let's...
And C. And I'm going to add pretty much the same secondary dominance as I did for the previous simple quote-unquote example. The only difference now will be that I'll be using more sophisticated chords with tensions and so on. But the idea of secondary dominance and of tonicization remains the same. So I'm going to start by taking my C major. I'm going to play a C major 9 for this, let's say. And my next chord will be an A minor, but I'll add an E dominant 7, just like I did with the previous example. This is a tonicization or a secondary dominant of the A minor. Now I'm using a particular voicing of the E dominant 7, which also has the flat 9 and the flat 5 in it. It's fairly straightforward for you to just learn what it looks like and then copy it for your own playing. This leads into an A minor 11. Now the next chord that the A minor leads into is an F major, but again I'm going to tonicize it by adding a C dominant 7. And in this particular case, I'll add a voicing that has the 13th degree here and the flat and 9th degree here. And the...
So we left out the 11. Alright, well, we don't have time to finish this video. I need to get going. So damn, we had a 3.5 hour stream today. We might pick things up next week by just finishing this out, and I can play these chords on top of it just to see how that goes. Why not? Alright, so looks like nothing ever really happened on Facebook Live. Definitely nothing happened on Twitch that I could tell. But that's alright. Obviously, the first time streaming on those two platforms in over a year. Although I got a handful of followers on Facebook, so I don't know. Anyway, it's not really a live kind of place, is it? Alright, that's it. Thank you, everybody who came in, checked it all out, participated in the chat. One person in the chat I'm going to be seeing very soon. In person! So, here we go. Alright. I'll be streaming again next week, same time. So, if anytime you guys got things you want me to watch, check out, do reactions to, explain, let me know, send me links, send me the videos, we'll make it happen. Alright, that's it. Time for me to end this. Thanks again. I'm out!